What is going on, everybody out there? Welcome to the Ghost Squad and the Clover Tat crew. Trey here at the Ghost Tactical. We are Clover and I decided to kind of, I don't know, make this a regular thing or not, but if we get the wild hair every now and then, we're going to turn the camera on and just say hello and speak our minds on some topics that are possibly out there. And, you know, what's kind of gone on the last week and all that. What's going on, Clove?
I don't know, man. Today just started out crappy, so hopefully it gets better.
What happened?
Well, I was really looking forward to, with all the rain and crap.
Yeah,
it's been dry the last few days, and was looking forward to getting out on the range and with the kids and all that kind of stuff. And I get up this morning, and I mean, we got like 3 inches of rain or something for, in the early hours of the morning, which it wasn't supposed to rain here until this afternoon. So that kind of bummed me out.
I think we had some rain coming, but it was supposed to be here later on the day. Huh?
Yeah, it was supposed to be this afternoon, and then it ended up. So, and when we get any kind of significant rain, the range is just a mud pit. So,
yeah,
it sucks.
Well, we've got a few guys starting to trickle in. Got Ben up there, Crackles out there. Let's see, Russ Carr, Amorphous, Tardot, Hemi, Phoenix, Budget Guns and Gear, Zippy, Scott Pacini, Psycho Camp. You guys are killing me. Still trying to catch up from 2 weeks ago.
That's probably my fault.
He said he still got the white crap outside. Phoenix does. No, we've had now I guess it's been a little over about 2.5 weeks. So we'll call it what? We'll call it 20 days. We'll just say that. It's almost been 3 weeks, and we've had a little over 20 inches of rain. And so we're averaging about an inch a day, it seems like, and it's crazy. It's nice and beautiful, sunny outside now, but kind of saturated. We got about an inch last night. We didn't get as hard as we thought. It came down hard for about 15 minutes, and then it kind of went away.
All right.
What's going on, Gary? No, we're just out here talking, and Clover and I talk quite a bit, probably at least on a daily basis, if not more. But we decided, every now and then we're just going to kick it on, and instead of talking on the phone, let's kick it out live. So I tell you what, we kind of switched it off. I think last week you hosted on yours and I'm hosting on mine. So we're just going to kind of, whatever happens. But what's been going on in your mind? You got anything that you want to bring up that's kind of you've been thinking about in the last week or the last few days? Anything going
on? Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about it's something, part of the crappiness of today in a way. I made a comment on Matt, Never Enough Ammo, for the chat out there. You guys may not, I don't know if you don't know Never Enough Ammo is Matt, then I don't know. I kind of feel sorry for you because you need to watch more. But made a comment on one of his videos and ended up getting crossways with a guy. Got basically accused of being funded by George Soros, and then this last statement was basically that since I don't support the NRA, and he got all this from what I was talking about with the NRA. This is his assumptions he was projecting on me, his judgment, of course, but that because I don't support the NRA and I don't do any kind of activism or any kind of awareness or help with the Second Amendment cause, and good luck basically with my endeavors in the future or some kind of crap. And that dude, that flies all over me. So I just let it rip. I put the big long list of my credentials that he can go shove up his butt, basically, because that's what's wrong, guys. That's what's wrong with this going on out here. Nobody can have a differing opinion on tact or what we need to do, and you've got these FUDs or whatever you want to call them that want to bow at the altar of the NRA. I pay my dues to the NRA. You know why I pay my dues to the NRA. Yes. I've made no secrets about that. But I don't support the ILA. They can kiss it. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like what they've historically done. And I'll concede that they're a punching bag. They're a great punching bag for us, for the media to point to them. But, this jackwagon, to steal a term from Gunny, was talking about how the majority of gun owners in the U.S. are NRA members, and I'm wrong. And I'm like, dude, there's like 75 million gun owners in the United States, and there's 5 million members, maybe.
Right. Right.
And that's a very generous estimate. That's not even close to a majority, brother. Come on. So just the misinformation out there that people want to throw, and all of these, I've talked about it before, the microcosms that are in a community, they've got to stop. They've got to.
Yeah, you and I talked for a while last night, and this conversation came up, and Ben's out there saying that the gun community needs to get it together and start fighting for the same cause and stop fighting with each other like kids. Bottom line, to a certain extent, yes. I will say that that's a very, very fine-edged, double-edged sword. In the YouTube side and the social media side, a little bit of conflict is always kind of good. Now, we don't want it to be malicious to where we're splitting our base in us versus them, but a little bit helps because it does bring maybe some attention. And if we can have a couple things going on that's causing a little bit of drama, but it brings people to the community, and then we're able to, establish our platform and present our platform in a way that they like it. Maybe it helps. I do believe that we do need to come together as far as a consistent message. And that message is going to be maybe a little bit different. We're going to talk a little bit about that today because Clover and I have some interesting ideas and thoughts on what that message could be, should be, what we need to be doing. And, one of the things I'll talk about are the rallies. And we had talked a little bit about this, that, we all agree that the rallies are a good thing, but it's not going to take just rallies, because understand that, my opinion, I think Clover, we talked about this, and I think his is too. You can step in, with this, we're gonna step all over each other's toes all day, guys. So we apologize for that, but I believe that the scenario that we're in right now is probably going to be worse, if it already isn't, than Sandy Hook in 2013. But it's a different battle this time. And Clover brought up a good point last night when we were talking. And he said, back in 2013, there were just kind of the beginnings of the gun community being big on YouTube, and Hidcock and Demo and all these guys and Eric. They weren't these mega channels, and Tim, they weren't the mega channels. They were small, and they kind of got big because of Sandy Hook and the whole 2013 issue. Now they're established, and they've actually gone past being the established big channel into these mega, corporate channels almost. And so it's going to be a different fight.
Well, and it also, it stems a little deeper than that. And I know this for a fact, because I've been, an active part in and around and talking about the Second Amendment, from pretty much birth, right? I mean, it's just where I live, and living rural and growing up rural and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I've been around the firearms and all of that stuff. And so I can say without a shadow of a doubt, when Sandy Hook happened, the problem is, I think, something we're seeing now. And, if you're out there and it seems like I'm the Baptist preacher behind the pulpit and I'm singling you out, I apologize, because that's truly not what I'm intending to do. And that says more about you than it does me. But, I noticed after Sandy Hook, I took advantage of it in several different ways, because there was idiots paying, $1,500 for a Glock and selling their, Colt Cobra for $300 to do it. Right. And so I racked up on revolvers and all kinds of stuff during that time. I mean, so, of course, I was in a position where I could take advantage and do that. So, but during that time, I realized there was people buying guns and getting into guns out of fear and out of the scare. They didn't really have the money to be buying them. They really weren't into it as far as a lifestyle, which means they really wasn't into it as far as the Second Amendment. So since 2013, anyway, for 5 years now, especially during Obama, right? Because he was the biggest gun salesman in the world ever. So,
absolutely.
Pretty much all agree on that. We had a lot of people that brought into the quote unquote community that really weren't, lifelong, dedicated people, and I don't want to don't want to say that because, you know, I know there's people like, you know, for example, Rick. We talk about Rick, and you know, he hasn't been into guns and all of that too long, but I mean, that's just part of where he lived and what went on. It wasn't really any fault of his own. But what I'm getting at is there's been an influx of people that are quote unquote gun owners that just absolutely don't care. They're gun owners because they got scared and they ran out and bought a AR-15 or a Glock or whatever, or a XD after Sandy Hook. And so they're involved in all of these channels. They're out there in the chats, you know, and they're just a different breed. And Tardot said it above, you know, it's like, you know, we attack each other. You know, if somebody is on, you know, we've got a guy that supports the NRA, going back to what I was talking about earlier, just for a minute to make my point here. If we've got a guy that is, you know, supports the NRA, he's obviously pro-gun. I have no doubt that this guy that me and him are crossways. I have no doubt that he, you know, respects and loves the Second Amendment and his firearms, and that he's a gun guy. I have no doubt about that. But we got into a conversation that, from his end, I mean, he was trying to be argumentative, that he was hostile and aggressive right out of the box towards a pro-gun guy, me.
Right.
So imagine what would happen if he would come up against somebody that was uneducated or miseducated, I should say, because a lot of these get their quote unquote education from the left. That's inaccurate. So if he's going to immediately come out of the box and be hostile to me, you know, then what the heck's he going to say to somebody else? I mean, the tact that he's going to use is just not right. You know, we need to be able to have a conversation. We need to be able to have a conversation with each other. And we dang sure need to be able to have a conversation with those out there that need to be educated.
Yeah, because I think, you know, one of the things that, you know, everyone's talking about is there's been numerous shows this last week, mine included, about how to have that conversation and what's the way maybe to start it. But one thing we also have to understand, guys, is when we're having these discussions, you know, chances are, if it's someone that is anti-gun and they're just wanting to get into a debate, understand you're not going to change their mind. Okay, right then and there, you're not going to change their mind. And if it's someone in the middle that we actually are trying to maybe sway towards the gun side, you're probably not going to change their mind right then either. The only thing you can do is to have an intellectual, civil, respectful conversation with someone, whether they're an extremist or they're in the middle, anti-gun, or maybe they are gun, they don't know yet. But you're not there to change their mind right then and there. What you're there to do is to plant the seed, have them, if you present it in a logical, respectful, you know, civil way with facts, and you cuss, you don't get riled up, you don't howl at the moon, you listen to what they have to say, you make your argument as plain and simple and as factual as you can, and that might entice them to go home, do some more research on their own, and maybe a month, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a day, maybe it's a year down the road, they might start coming over to our side. But like I said, if you're there trying to change people's minds in that 5-minute conversation, that's not the approach we need to be having, because what's going to happen is going to get emotional again. There's going to be yelling and screaming, cussing, everything that we don't want to be. Okay. Everything that they look at the crazy gun people in this country. We don't want to represent that in a debate, especially if you're going to do it online. If you're going to do it one-on-one, you know, I'm not saying go ahead and do it. I'm saying that at least it's not that bad. But if you're going to go on and you're going to turn the camera on and we're going to go just batshit ballistic on people, that's not the message either. So, you know, I think you have to be real cognitive of really what the message should be, how to handle it, and understand chances are we're not going to change their mind right now. But what we can do is continuously and consistently plant that seed. And if they keep hearing the same thing over and over and over in a respectful way, maybe they'll sit there and say, you know, these gun people aren't crazy. And the numbers that they're talking about, everyone's talking about the same numbers. So I'm going to go take a look at them. And if they're true, well, maybe I'm not as anti-gun as I thought. So that's an approach we also need to think about as well.
Yeah. And you hit it the other night about asking questions. You've got to be able. One thing we got to be able to do is we've got to be able to read people, to identify people, and you
Correct.
do that. You do that by being a student of humanities, what I call it, which is just paying attention to people in general your entire life, and mannerisms and how people react to certain statements and certain words and just things like that. I've always paid attention to things like that. But secondly, you do that by asking questions, and you can tell pretty quick if somebody's just misinformed, or if they're just very solidified. I've seen a thing, and I think it was Nuance Bro. And if you guys haven't checked out Nuance Bro, it's pretty cool. You might want to check it out. I think G's mentioned that before. He's kind of does these man on the street interviews at these rallies. But anyway, I think it was Nuance Bro, but he went up to this one lady and they were having this back and forth, and then she made all the usual liberal arguments, and then finally, he kept laying down these facts that just couldn't be disputed, right? And she kept making the liberal arguments, and then finally he laid down another one, and she sort of ended by saying, "You know what? I hate guns. I don't care. I hate guns. I want them all gone." And then she's like turned around and walked off. And I'm like, okay, if somebody is like that, you need to cut bait. Don't even bother, because just lay it out, and then just like I said, don't just walk away. Don't even pursue it any further. Get the information out and walk off.
Yeah, Psycho Camp says, he said he kind of disagrees with what I was saying. He says most of them are anti-gunners. They move immediately and ad hominem attacks, disparaging remarks, blah, 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 blah. They use emotion and not reason. In that case, just say thanks and walk away. And that's exactly what you're saying. Yeah, there's going to be some people, guys, that no matter what we do or what we say, it's not going to happen. And they don't particularly want to hear what we say. They just want to get that argument. They want to get us in a position to where they can say, well, I had a conversation with a gunner today and him and he went crazy and all this, that, and the other. No, if you know there is no chance of any common ground, fold your hand and walk away. It's all
just like this guy, and I see it over and over and over I see it on the chats. I see it in produced content that's made. I see it in real life. Every social media platform out there, let's say, and in social life, I see it where we act exactly like the left, and I've said it. We've got to use their tools, but we've got to use their tools in our own way. We can't, several people have said, well, we need to be playing their game and we need to do what they're doing, and we don't. Because what they're doing is dishonest and disingenuous. And those people in the middle, ultimately, they know that. Ultimately, they're going to figure that out. And there's going to be resentment there. That's not how you permanently win somebody to your side. Yes, they may win people to their side in the short term, but it goes to like this Florida legislation, for example. They've restricted the ages now, right? They banned the dangerous bump stock and all now, right? So those people that were sort of in the middle and sort of said, oh, well, they're trying some quote unquote common sense gun control in Florida. I can understand that. I'm on board with that. You can already buy a pistol if you're 21. You can't buy a pistol, until you're 21. So that's okay. As a reasonable person in the middle here, I understand that. I don't have a problem with that. And what's the point of this bump stock and all this stuff? That's just, you shouldn't have. That's something that simulates a machine gun. Yeah, that needs to be regular. I'm on board with that. I get the argument. We need to protect our kids, and we need to arm the teachers. That's in there. That's good. Oh, this mental health thing, that's all good. This bill, as a person in the middle, this has been sold to me, and I can get on board that this is going to do some good. Well, what happens when the next tragedy occurs? Because tragedy occurs all the time, everywhere. It's just the world we live in. Those reasonable people that were in the middle are going to go, wait a minute. These people over here this whole time, not the ones screaming and ranting and hollering, but these people over here were having a civil conversation with me, and they were telling me, look, this has been tried here and this has been done, and bump stocks don't have anything to do with it. Bump stocks aren't used in crimes and things. The whether or not you're able to buy it when you're 21, by the way, it doesn't affect private sales anyway. But, if you're not able to buy it until you're 21, but your parents are still able to buy it for you. Well, that really doesn't ultimately keep it out of the hands of anybody anyway. So,
ownership.
And it's horrible that it would take another tragedy for those people to see that. But like I said, it's going to be a slow progression, and then they move over, and then because it's factually based and it's based in truth and fact, then they're going to be more loyal to our way of thinking, from there out, because they were sold a bill of goods, they were lied to, and we can't fall down that same rabbit hole. That's why I get so upset when people want to pad numbers and pad facts and things like that on our side. There's no reason to do that. There's no reason. So be really careful. Like this guy saying, well, most gun owners are a member of the NRA. There's no reason. There's no reason to throw that out there, regardless of whether you support the NRA or not. There's no reason to lie about things. Or I don't want to say lie, because some people don't do it intentionally, because that would be, to me, a lie is intentional. But, there's no reason to misinform people like that, because then that can be used against you later on, and we don't need that.
Well, we were talking, a lot of the things that we're going to see is there are going to be more states. Let's be real about this. There are going to be more states that take this age from 18 to 21. And I don't think that, and I know that you're the same way, but I don't have a problem with that, to be honest with you guys. I truly, but here's my thing is, if you're going to take buying a gun to the age of 21, here's my stance on it. That's fine. But make voting 21, make the military age 21. Anything that you are able to do at 18, make it 21. That includes buying cigarettes, I guess. I mean, but anything that you're now able to do at 18 that you weren't able to do before, move to 21. So at least you're being consistent. That being said, tragedies are going to happen. You're right. And I hate to say this, guys, but there's going to be a couple more sometime this year. That's just the reality of the numbers. That's the reality of this world. You cannot stop evil no matter what laws you pass. So if these states are going to go out there and try to pass these laws, and the next tragedy happens, well, what if one of those tragedies happens, let's say in Florida again, after this 21-year-old law and the bump fire stock goes into effect? What if it was a 19-year-old kid using a bump stock? Has that law affected anything? No, it hasn't. So that actually, God, this is going to sound so bad. I don't want to say this. There's going to be a tragedy whether we like it or not. And the chances of a tragedy happening in a state that has passed it to 21 and may even use a bump stock or something similar is going to happen. And what that could do is, at that point, is take those people that were in the middle, and then once they filed and passed these bills into law of the age and the device, all that, they say, oh, well, that sounds like very common sense. Like you said, that sounds like common sense gun control. So I guess I'm going to swing more this way. And then the next tragedy happens. And then, like you said, they realize, well, that gun control didn't stop anything. So if it's not going to stop anything, then why are we banning things? And so it actually could come back in the long haul and help us. But like you said, we got to stay on the right subject. We got to stay on the same and correct facts. Don't just throw facts out there. Make sure they're factual and they're correct, because misinformation is going to hurt. Now, I want to talk a little bit with Stealth Hunter out there, made a comment. And I don't know if I missed something part of it, but I'm just going to go ahead and read it. It says, I would like to make a point on DD. If the product is good, so be it. If the owner is crap, so be it. One does not reflect on the other. If a person feels that way, buy used, just saying. That was my whole thing about Springfield. But understand, guys, and Clover, I know that you have a really good comment that we talked about last night that I think is extremely relevant to this. But before we go into that, let me say this. Whatever you want to call it, you can call it a boycott or whatever. I'm not going to go into the comment you're going to make, because I think that's awesome. But what I am going to say this, Clover, is this. People need to understand something. Unless you're buying it directly from, let's say, Springfield Armory, there's really no reason, except for maybe if a lot of the gun shops in the country are just not selling any Springfields, they're not going to buy as many from Springfield Armory. But understand that as far as the money transaction goes, no matter where you buy your gun from, if it's Springfield or any other, your money's not going to Springfield unless you buy directly from the factory, because they're selling it wholesale to gun shops and all of that. So, you know, if the people say they're not getting my money, well, they've already got their money. They don't care about your money. They got their money from their distributor. So, you know, I'm not saying go and support Springfield by any means. I'm just saying that, you know, the whole premise of I'm going to boycott this product and they're not going to get any of my money. They've already got their money. So, just saying. But I do agree with you, Stealth Hunter. If a product is good, then buy it. If you don't like what the company as a whole is doing, it may not be the company. It might be the CEO or the chairman of the board making that decision of what they're going to do. Go boycott that. Go write that guy letters. Go call that guy. It's not always a company that's being represented by what they're doing. And I know that you've got a comment that you talked about last night. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but I thought it was phenomenal what you were talking about last night with employees and all that.
Yeah, I can. I don't know that I can get it verbatim or be as eloquent as I was, you know, on the fly last night, but I'll give it a try. Boycotts, historically, boycotts seldom work. And they seldom work for a myriad of reasons. First of all, because again, we're dealing with, you know, 80%, 70% or so of people that's in the middle of any issue. So you're not going to get the 10, 15% or so off of one side, and then a great portion of the middle to do anything anyway. Boycotts are usually done just to sort of make a statement. And, you know, to put it into perspective, there was, you know, a boycott. I think it had to do with like abortion or something like that went on at one time. And there was this big long list of, you know, through some means of with executives or whatever it was, and their retirement portfolios or 401ks or something was tied in with a company that supported, you know, Planned Parenthood or anyway. And this list came out. And this was quite a few years ago, and you know, they were like, boycott all of these companies. And if you boycotted all of them companies, you couldn't drink any software. You basically couldn't eat any chicken that you could buy in a store. You know, and I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, the vast majority of people, you know, are not going to do that. When it deals with the firearm industry, you're right in that, the boycott issue is one of them things to where the distributor has already bought it, and then the dealer has already bought it. So I mean, there's money that's changed hands at least twice before anybody in the store buys it. And then if you boycott and then you don't buy them, then you've got, ultimately at the end of the day, you have a dealer sitting there, which we all talk about, support our local gun shops, right? And we've got these local gun shops sitting there that has these firearms that now everybody has boycotted the company, and they're not buying these firearms from the local dealer, and then the local dealer goes out of business. What if the local dealer signed a deal to buy a bunch of Springfield's, Daniel Defense, and Rock Rivers before they ever got all crazy, and that's the only thing they had in their store? Well, obviously they've got to turn those before they can buy anything else, right? So what do? You know, so I mean, you got to, again, it goes back into what we were talking about a little bit before with being able to put things into a perspective and relate to certain people when you're having a conversation with people. And it works the same way. I mean, put yourself in their shoes and think about that for a minute. You know, that company you're boycotting's already got their money. And then another thing that people don't realize is the rank and file employee with boycotts that you end up hurting when it's ultimately doing no good other than making some kind of a statement to that company. And you could very easily do that just by a campaign to, you know, write, petition the company, whatever, to let them know that, hey, there's a significant amount of people out here that are ticked off about what you're doing. Because that's basically what a boycott is. It's nowadays. It doesn't necessarily hurt the company. It just puts that in the eyes of the company. Gets in. What am I thinking? It makes them aware that, you know, there's a certain amount of people out there that are ticked off over our decisions or what we're doing. So there's other ways of doing that besides just screaming boycott, because at the end of the day, what is a boycott? A boycott is, hey, your company doesn't align with my beliefs, so I'm going to garner together some people and we're going to try to force you either out of business or to conform to our beliefs. Well, what if somebody did that to you? So they've got the freedom to make the decisions and do what they want to do, and then we've got the freedom, yes, to shop elsewhere. But by boycotting them, it's in a way, it's trying to force them into your particular belief system. And then more importantly than that, you affect rank and file employees that may believe the same way you do, and then now you've created a hardship, potentially resentment. Let's use Coca-Cola for example, which was on the boycott list with the, like I said, with the Planned Parenthood thing or whatever, and everybody stops drinking Coca-Cola and they start doing cutbacks and everything else. Then these Coca-Cola employees are going to have resentment toward the people that boycotted, that cost their job, that now they're on welfare. So now your tax money is trying to pick up the tab for them. And it's just a whole big messy situation, the whole boycott. And the bottom line is it's really, in the end, it's ill-fated. If you look at it, it really does no good. Think about the number of people out there right now for the NRA that are rah NRA, hardcore stance. We see it all the time. There's probably even some in the chat right now, I'm sure. So regardless of what that particular company or organization does, and whether or not you don't like it, I mean, you personally don't have to do anything. And it's okay to tell people, it's okay to educate people. There's nothing wrong with that. Say, hey, I don't buy Rock River. I don't buy Springfield. I don't buy Daniel Defense. And here's why. It's the same way. I've said it with Cheaper Than Dirt. I've said it with Optics Planet. And I know Matt defended them not too long ago, but Optics Planet's terrible. Midway has started to unfortunately get that way.
Being too big for almost.
Yeah, Midway's involved with the NRA a little bit too heavily. Midway was once a great company, and it's tied in its involvement with the NRA so much. I think Potterfield, which if you don't know, Potterfield owns Midway. I think Potterfield really is a Second Amendment guy and everything. I just think he's gotten tied into that whole infrastructure too much, unfortunately.
And I think you almost have to. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, and I'm not defending these companies by any means. I'm not defending Potterfield, but when you start out and you have a business and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows, your business plan and your whole personality evolves as this business grows. And once you reach a certain point, you have to start getting creative on where you're going to take your company to the next venture. And he decided to jump in with partners and people that maybe was a good business move, but may not necessarily reflect his own opinions. And what we're talking about out here, guys, is we're saying, we're using Springfield as an example. We're by no means saying don't, stop buying Springfields. We're saying don't go support Springfield if you don't want to, but understand that there is always another side to the effects of a boycott, because and I think someone said it out there, and I'm going to hide that. Juice, please watch language. Thank you very much.
I get your point, though, Juice. Yeah, I agree. Optics Planet.
I agree.
That's basically what he said.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're not saying you can't make that point. We're saying use different words.
The chat is recorded now, by the way. Just so you guys know. We got to get everybody used to that.
Right. But you're talking about any company that makes a political statement. And that's like you said, it could be the chairman of the board. It might be the board of directors. It might be the CEO that's making this decision. And it doesn't always necessarily reflect the company as a whole. This person representing the company, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying it does. But what I'm saying is there's always a flip side to a boycott. And what I would say is, someone said it there in the chat earlier, you're fine, Juice. Don't worry about it, bro. What I will say earlier is, if you're trying to support your local gun shop and you go in and you want to buy an XDM or an XDS or something, and you sit there and say, oh, you know what, I shouldn't be buying Springfield. That's fine. Go buy a Smith & Wesson M&P. Go buy, you know, something that's still supporting your gun shop.
Well,
don't not buy a gun because you don't want to, you know, you're not supposed to buy Springfield. That's fine. Go buy something, you know.
My point is, even if you're buying a Springfield or a Daniel Defense or a Rock River or whatever, buy it from your local gun shop.
Right.
And then you're helping out your local gun shop. You're not supporting a conglomerate that is beholden to the NRA or that sold out to some politicians. You're supporting, it's perspective. You got to look at it. You're supporting your local gun shop. They've got a product they've got to sell. They've got to turn a profit on. They've got to get rid of so they can buy more products so they can keep the doors open, right? So look at it as that.
Yeah. Russ out there says, if a customer, he's an FFL, but he said if a customer asks for a Springfield, he'll tell them that he won't sell them a Springfield product. The customer will then ask why, and he'll explain it to them very calmly. And most of them don't know, and it changes their minds. And that's right. Most people are uninformed. They don't have a clue. Most people that are, I wouldn't say most, but there's a very large number of gun people that are just gun advocates, not Second Amendment activists. So they probably aren't keeping up with the news and the politics of the Second Amendment. They like guns, or they're, you know, whatever, but they're not reading gun magazines. They're not checking up on the online. They're not figuring out what's going on, what's being said by each manufacturer. So they like guns, but they probably hadn't heard that Springfield try to sell out their customers and all of that. So there's a lot of that right now. And I think, Russ, that's, you know, since you're at FFL, that's a great point. And I like that. Hey, what's up, Mike? How you doing, brother? But I like that.
What I'd like to ask Russ,
you know,
what I'd like to ask Russ is when he's talking about when he's got a customer that asks for a Springfield. So I'm assuming by that statement that you're talking about, you've got a customer that comes in and you don't have a Springfield at that point, which means you would have to order one, which means said distributor would have to get one, send it to you. That's right. Because I doubt he's saying that he has one. I doubt he says he has one sitting in the case that he wouldn't sell them if they asked. That's what I'm asking, Russ. If you've got one sitting in the case there, that the company you work for, whatever, he says, yeah. So I guess that's what he's saying is, it's ordered. They don't actually have any there. So
and that's kind of still saying, you know, they're in their business of making a profit, and I get.
Yeah, because that would have been weird. That's why I wanted to know from Russ. Right. Was that the case? Because I mean, if that's really weird, if you sunk money, if you sunk money into that inventory, and then you're telling people, "Oh, don't buy that one," I'm like, okay, that doesn't make a lot of business sense. So, yeah,
you know, and like I said, you're going to start seeing companies that. Or I should say companies, gun shops that probably have some old Springfield inventory from a year or so ago.
And used. And a lot of times you're not going to know it's used unless they tell you. I mean, let's face it, a lot of firearms look brand new. So,
you know, but here's the thing that has changed the dynamic of gun shops. And I don't know if Russ is doing this, but I know, you know, I've got a couple of good friends of mine that own gun shops, and all of them are doing this. And let's be real about it. If that inventory is not moved within 2 or 3 months of receiving it, you know where those guns are going? They're going on GunBroker.
Yeah, they will.
Something like that. And all gun shops are utilizing it because for nothing else, it's turning their inventory. So they're not sitting on something. And they might take a little bit of a hit, but at least it's not sitting in a shelf making nothing. At least they're getting something out of it. So that dynamic has changed a little bit as well. So, you know,
and you've got Arms List, and there's a few other ones out there as well. So yeah.
Oh, okay. He's saying that gun companies, to be clear, the chat typing is hard. He's talking about the gun companies are in for a profit. Well, hell yeah, they're in for a profit.
Well, anybody that's in business is in for a profit. Come on.
It's you don't want to lose. Well, the only one I can sit there and say is YouTube, but
YouTube is in for a profit. That's, you know, that gets into a whole other ball of wax to why they've changed the monetization policy and a bunch of other stuff. They're trying. You know, they're just owned by a larger company, and then a larger company, then they can afford to ride it out until it it starts turning a profit. So, and they get perks off of it from the search engine and data mining and other things. So,
all right,
that's a big difference.
Ben says that Gunbroker banned the sale of bump stock, so he's not going there for his first gun. I got 2 points I want to make on that.
First, I wouldn't advise Gunbroker for anything other than if you were looking for a very specific whatever firearm that you just can't find. I mean, for example, you guys know I collect the Marlins or whatever, and I check Gunbroker once or twice a week just to see if any pop up on there. Other than that, I wouldn't advise buying from Gunbroker. There's too many other places you can buy from.
Right. I've got 2 points for about Gunbroker. Gunbroker is a phenomenal place if you're trying to find what the current market value of a gun is. And I'm not saying because of what the auction price is for, but you can go in and Gunbroker and find out, you say Glock 19 Gen 5. And you can find out what the last 10 guns that sold on Gunbroker, what they actually sold for, not what the asking price was on Gunbroker, but what they actually sold for. And that way you can kind of get an actual kind of a fair market value for any gun they've got that's sold through there. Second thing about that, Ben, is I'd say this. This is just my opinion. Yes, local gun shops can be a little bit more expensive than online shops because online shops are buying hundreds of a gun at one time, or the big box stores are buying hundreds of a gun at one time when your local FFL is buying 3 at a time. So they can be a little bit more expensive. But I'll say this, if you're going to be your very first gun, then there's not a better experience in the world than supporting a local gun shop for your very first gun, because everyone wins in that situation.
And
so
plus the support you're going to get. The support you're going to get. I mean, let's say it's your first one, and let's say that, because, anything that is manufactured can have a problem, right? I mean, it doesn't matter the track record. So, and if you buy it from a local place, odds are they're going to help you take care of that. They're not, they're probably not going to take it back right there in the store and swap it like a pair of jeans at Walmart, that you bought the wrong size or something. But, they will help you through that. A lot of them will mail it off for you and everything else, whatever they've got to do. So, for a first gun, it's a lot better. A lot of times they'll even, give you some ammo to go with it. If they know it's your first one, they'll really sweeten the pot. They'll, help you kind of understand the, how it works and the safety and racking the slide or whatever. And
some targets to go the range with. Hey, here's a couple of free targets. Go.
Yeah.
Knock yourself out,
Yeah. The support with your local gun shop is what's, it's what's so nice. Right. It's nice to be able to go in there and look somebody in the face. And there's a certain amount of accountability there, because they know, and I know that. I mean, I had a local store as well. So you've got a situation where if you screw up, or if somebody's not happy, you're going to hear about it. The big companies, you're a number to them. They could care less. If you call Buds or, any of the other, companies online, you're a number. Your customer number is all you are.
That's it. That's right. No doubt. Let's see what else is going on up here in the chat.
But to jump back on the boycott thing for just a minute. I didn't get to drive home my point really, but
drive it home,
think about it. Think about it this way with boycotts when you're wanting to quick to holler boycott. The NRA since Vegas has suffered quote unquote boycotts from the right, from us pretty much, right? I mean, we kind of agree on that. And then after Parkland, guess what? They started suffering them now from the left. So they're getting it from both sides, and they're gaining members, fellas. So again, boycotts don't work. If you're getting it from both sides and then people are still signing on, that's proof positive right there. They don't work. We got to find another way. I don't know what you were going to move on to, but there was.
I was just reading some stuff out there in the chat. I had nothing that was really.
Somebody was asking up there, and I wanted to kind of address it, and you may have some opinions on it too. And it has to do with this the lawsuit in Florida. Somebody up there was talking about railing about the age, and when we were talking about that, the moving everything up to 21, whatever,
Right.
and they were talking about the GOA and where's the GOA. I've got a good feeling, and we talk about this pretty regular. The GOA is watching. They're waiting and watching and planning and strategizing. I think we've got a problem to where we react. We've got to quit that. We've got to quit. Anything happens, any tragedy, any word, one politician just says something off the cuff stupid, and we've got this thing to where we just go crazy and react, and we've got to quit. We've got to be vigilant, and we've got to take action seriously and pay attention to what's actually going on. Yes, but we've got to quit reacting to stuff. And right now, okay, the governor signed this, and the NRA's filed a lawsuit. So we don't need to be reacting to the whole can't buy 121 until we see what happens. I think that it's very possible you're talking about the GOA. They may end up picking up the suit that the NRA's filed, because I don't know what it cost. Most places, but first of all, let me say this: just because the NRA filed a suit doesn't mean that the NRA is necessarily even trying to fight this. $80 or whatever the filing fee is to file a freaking lawsuit out of the pocket of the NRA is nothing. It's like us throwing away a penny. So it's nothing. It means nothing to them just to file a suit, just to be able to say, look, we filed a suit. Right. Then second, if you go in and you look at the suit they filed, which you can find that online, by the way, because I found that the other night, it's a little bit disheartening because the NRA is suing on grounds that I don't think they're going to be able to win on. And I invite anybody to go look, but basically what's going on is they're suing on the grounds that this legislation restricts the right of those 18 to 20 to possess and bear arms, or bear and possess. I don't remember which way they worded it, but one way or the other. And they're really hinging their suit on possession. The problem is this legislation was really clear to make it out that this legislation is not about possession with 18 to 20, because your parents can go in and buy for you and this, that, and the other. So I think that the NRA is barking up the wrong tree with this suit. So hopefully, and typically what they do is the NRA will start a suit. Typically, they don't even start the suit. Somebody else does. But when they do start a suit, typically somebody else will come in and pick up the slack. They do it mainly just to get the credit, to be honest. And it puts them, let's face it, I've said it before, the NRA is a big punching bag. And it's a big organization, and it's able to take a lot of punches. So, I don't know strategically that that's a bad move to have the NRA to come in and file the suit, and then have some of these smaller organizations to actually come in and argue said suit. But it does worry me that the argument they're making in this suit does worry me. And again, I invite everybody to go check out that Florida legislation and look at what it talks about with possession, because it's really not about possession. And then look at the way the lawsuit is worded, because they're hinging it like Florida's restricting possession, and the legislation just doesn't line up. And that worries me, that this lawsuit is doomed to fail if somebody doesn't change it, get a hold of it and change it.
Right. You mentioned a point earlier in your monologue, shall we call it, about the GOA. And I think everyone knows how I feel about the NRA. They also probably know that I support very adamantly the GOA, the Second Amendment Foundation. But you mentioned it, and there has been talk a little bit in the last week or so, is where's a GOA? What are they doing? And I want to say this, and I might be completely wrong. They are out there. They're still doing their stuff. But I think that right now, I think that they understand that right now is not the time for them to be blasting every little thing. Because one, the NRA is going to be out there as the beacon of light for the Second Amendment. They also, I think they realize that a lot of this stuff is being worked on, and what's being said is working on emotions. And no matter what they come out and do, right now, you're not going to fight the emotion of February 14th. You're not going to defeat the emotion of February 14th. You know, Clover, you and I have a very good friend of ours in this world that was directly affected in Tac Daddy. And we have a lot of discussions with Tac Daddy in private that are great. But you and I would even have to admit to a certain extent, Tac Daddy has been affected. He's not, I'm not saying that he is not two-way all the way. I'm saying that even the reality and the emotion of what has happened has softened him a little bit and saying, you know, he's willing to listen now. He's not probably willing to change his mind, but he has to because it's affected him. And if you're the GOA, the Second Amendment Foundation, what are you going to do within two or 3 weeks of this that hasn't already been said or done by everybody else? So let the NRA take the lead. Like you said, let the NRA take the lead. Let them take the punches because they can withstand the punches. They can take the body blows. And then after that's all done, the GOA, and that's what I think they're doing, they're going to come out and say, once there starts to be legislation actually getting close and actually being passed and all that, I think you see the GOA and the Second Amendment Foundation. You were talking about the GOA possibly taking the reins in this lawsuit and possibly even submitting something, trying to take it to the Supreme Court. The Second Amendment Foundation is also, you know, that's what they kind of do, is they're more in the judiciary side of things, and they do the lawsuit. So don't be surprised if the Second Amendment Foundation and the GOA don't start throwing punches and getting back in the fight. The problem is that first round, when we know that the other team is going to win that first 2 or 3 rounds because of the emotions, why not let our big boys out there take those punches for the community and then let's send the soldiers in afterwards? So I don't know if that's going to happen, but it sounds like a reasonable idea. The GOA has grown a lot and is getting stronger. Eric Pratt has done a phenomenal job. But even the GOA, as strong as they're becoming, can't take, like you said, can't take the punches publicly that the NRA can right now. So it's not a bad idea to stick our big gun out there, let them take the punches for the rest of the team, and then we start to send the soldiers out on an attack.
Well, and there's, whenever you're talking about strategery with, we talked about this. We had law school with the whole YouTube PragerU thing not too long ago. So there's strategery that comes into play when you're talking about lawsuits and the court systems and things like that. Right. It's not as simple. If you think it is, go to court. Even go to JP court. Sue somebody and go to JP court, which is the lowest, most rinky-dink court in the land. Much respect for those, obviously, but it is. And in particular, when you get into county court, district court, and circuit courts and Supreme Courts and things like that, even more so, strategery is very, very important. And with filing the suit, I understand for people that live in Florida, I get it. I don't know when this law actually goes into effect. This legislation goes into effect. I don't recall, but I get it. It's been signed. It's pretty much the law of the land at this point. And I get it. You're upset. You're frustrated over it. I understand. As far as the pro Second Amendment organizations that will file suit and fight things and whatever, we've got, what do we got? Ohio, Minnesota. We've got several states, right, that are looking at further legislation, similar style legislation, right, Ghost?
Yeah, yeah.
So here's my thing. I think that they're sitting back and they're kind of waiting to see, giving it a little time to see what happens there. And then what they can do is they can bring all of those states into one. And then when they take that to court, and then if they're able to take several states to court and win, that's going to hold more weight as far as precedent goes.
That's exactly right.
And so that's a strategy. If they just jump out there and do Florida, okay, well, the Supreme Court has got there's one state doing this. And, you know, even if the Supreme Court was to rule in that favor, which, I mean, likely, I think they probably would because of, oh, heck, my mind went blank. DC.
Heller?
Yeah, Heller. Yeah. I think that they probably would. But, you know, that case only holds the weight of one state, not 3 or 4 or however many. So I think that's what's going on, is they don't want to jump out there too early because it could possibly ruin their strategy. Clint says Judge Judy probably had the feds locked up for treason. Judge Judy would probably beat them right there in the courtroom, knowing Judge Judy.
Well, that hole is coming up because Smeggy earlier made a comment that he's taking the feds to Judge Judy. So he said we're going to bypass this. We're going to bypass SCOTUS. We're taking them straight to Judge Judy. Pretty sure Judge Judy would probably walk into court slinging an AR. Maybe
I would much rather have Judge Judy than Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I can tell you that right now. So, Judge Judy for Supreme Court. That needs to be Trump's next pick right there.
All right, well, there's a discussion over here, and Psycho Camp is in the boat of a lot of people. He's saying he can't give up his NRA membership because his gun club requires it. Yeah. And that's I mean, understand. I mean, and we're not saying by any means do you ever want to not support the NRA. I mean, it's a personal decision. If you want to support the NRA, don't listen to us. Do you? You know, you be you, Scotty P.
Yeah. And I don't have a problem if you're hopeful, because Ben is out there and has even said this, if I'm understanding him correctly. And if I'm misunderstanding you out there, Ben, I'm sorry, because sometimes when you write stuff, it don't necessarily come across right. But, you know, it's like, well, if the NRA is trying to do something this time, you know, shouldn't we support them? And I don't have a problem if you obviously if you're in a boat like myself or maybe Cycle Camp, that you feel like you're kind of held hostage by your membership dues, that you really don't support anything they do other than maybe the other arms. When we're talking about not supporting, we're talking about the legislative arm. We're really talking about the ILA. Is what we're talking about.
The ILA, yeah.
And but even if you support the ILA and you think that going forward that they are going to do some good, I think you're mistaken. That's my personal opinion on that. But I don't have a problem with you thinking that and paying your dues and hanging your hat on the hope that they will do the right thing. I don't have a problem with that. I just invite you to look at their track record and not come at it and tell me that, well, I'm supporting NRA because they always fight for our Second Amendment rights. And they don't. No, they don't. Go back historically and look at it. As long as you understand that, if you want to hang your hat on the hope that they're going to, I don't have a problem with that. Hope's a great thing,
Hope, if you're hanging your hat on hope, that's one thing. If you're hanging your hat on false information, that's a whole other issue.
If you're hanging your hat on historically they've proven that they're going to fight for our stuff, then that's not what you need to be hanging your hat on.
Go look at the last 3 or 4, 5, 6, 10 major legislations on gun control in the history of the U.S.
Oh, you're going back 100 years, man.
All
Easy.
over.
Yeah.
It's got their NRA written all over.
Yeah. That's why the ILA was started back in, what was it, 71 or 72 or whatever. They seen how their involvement with, gun lobby and gun legislation could get people to pay them money, basically. They seen how it made money. So they branched it off into the ILA. That way everybody in the ILA could keep every bit of that money. That didn't necessarily have to funnel out to the other arms. Right. The education and the training and the other thing. And nowadays with LaPierre, since he's been in there and they've restructured the entire NRA, the ILA sucks money from the other arms.
The ILA basically has become the NRA. I think someone said,
it is.
I think that education and training now makes up 8% of the NRA's budget.
Yeah, the ILA's completely hijacked it. Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible.
There's people that pay, your dues can't be separated. And that's why I say that the ILA and the NRA, it's two separate things. What they should do, honestly, is they should take and create a totally new program. Is what they are, organizations. What they should do, and say and funnel people over and go, okay, the NRA, the ILA, and the NRA is the same thing. Period. It's the same, because that's confusing to people, right? And then they should do a whole other maybe organization to handle their training and stuff like that. And if you want to pay your dues to both, you can pay your dues to both. But you see what I'm saying? There's actually dues that go both ways. It's not you send money to one place and then they decide whether they're going to put it in training or they're going to take a politician out to dinner with that money or whatever they're going to do. Because right now I don't have a problem giving it for the charitable arm or the education or, that sort of stuff. I have no problem with that. But with legislation right now, I have an issue because they pay too much to politicians. Look at, their financials can be seen, And I mean, you can see that through campaign contributions and everything else. There is at least some level of transparency still in this country. And you can look at all that and go look at what the NRA, think about it, $30 membership a year or whatever, and look at the kind of money they're getting millions from the Midway, Roundup program a year.
Yeah.
But look at the money that they're just handing politician, campaigns, candidate campaigns. I mean, it's insane, ridiculous kind of money.
They're kind of gone on the little bringing up the Vegas thing, and a lot of you guys are right. Yes, we still to this day have very little information that we didn't have within the first 48 hours of it. And I don't see a time or a place that they will probably release much of this information. Remember, guys, these bump stock bans are not just bump stocks. A lot of them are written to where they're talking about rate of fire increases, which is basically you can't do it because they've never defined a base rate of fire. But anyways, we're talking about banning items that has until October 2nd, 2017, I would be willing to bet that 95% of Americans have never heard of a bump stock before. They didn't have a clue what they were. I'd be willing to bet that there is a large portion of the quote-unquote gun community that really had never heard of a bump stock. So you're talking about legislation that is being written over one incident in the history of the world, and it still has not been proven, at least officially, that this device was used. So understand that they are not necessarily going for bump stocks, okay? And everyone's worried about bump stocks, bump stock, bump stock. It is much, much bigger than bump stocks. When you start talking about binary triggers, trigger polishing, extended mags. Guys, if you don't think that a 30-round mag is the next thing that's coming because that increases the rate of fire, you're sorely mistaken. You're talking 15-round mags could be considered rate of fire increases because you don't have to reload as much in your minute or whatever they're going to base the rate of fire. Guys, this is much, much bigger than bump stocks. So there are people out there, and you're right, Clover. There are people that says, I don't care about bump stocks. I'm one of them. I could give a damn about bump stocks, but I'm sure as hell not going to let anyone tell me that I can't have one because it's not just about bump stocks, guys. It is about so much more. It's a Pandora's box of rewriting the Second Amendment and the Constitution as we know it. That's what they're doing right now. And the problem is they're not doing it, and they're probably not going to do it on the federal level. All right, not right now. This is going to happen state by state. They're going to attack us piece by piece by piece by piece until there are 45 states out there, or 40 states that have similar laws. Then the federal government is like, well, we might as well just follow suit and make this a federal law. Or remember also, guys, extremely, extremely important, this November are the midterm elections. These are going to be crucial because for the next 6 months, the rhetoric as far as the gun part of the campaign, obviously campaigns are not going to be based off of guns, but right now it's a big part of the campaigns. You're going to hear a lot of rhetoric from the left because they want and they need to win some seats back. So if you think that the last month has been tough, it's not going to stop for the next 6 months. The midterm elections are crucial because right now I don't think they can get major gun control passed. After November into January, when those people, if they do take office, be very, very careful. So stay vigilant. Make sure you vote for the right candidates.
And here's something to add to that. And I know this is going to sound horrible, and especially for like TAC, I apologize, but I've said it before and he agrees. We've really only got to buy time, to be honest with you.
That's right.
Because, the emotions over Parkland, and that's really what's driving this now still. That's going to subside just like Sandy Hook. There's tons of people that don't even know what Sandy Hook is when you mention it. You know what I mean? That's horrible. Or Vegas, or all of these things, and they're oblivious to that it even went on. I mean, they don't get 24/7 cable news or whatever, and they barely read a newspaper. Or I don't even know that local newspapers. Most newspapers now are completely local. They don't even have national news. Anything that happens outside of the county or something, they don't even cover, or at least a lot of them around here are that way. So I mean, there's people out there that they don't, they're clueless. And then, like I said, sadly, I mean, it'll go away. It won't completely be forgotten, but it'll go away. And I mean, especially with midterms coming up and other things. And let me mention this. This is something that we talked about too the other night. Don't get so riled up, at least on a federal level, over all of this, the federal level Trump and this, that, and they're after our guns, and and just thinking that that's their number one goal is to take your guns away. You've got Kim Jong-un and the meeting with Trump and all this weirdness that's going on now with that kind of crap. You've got these tariffs and all the issues regarding NAFTA and these trade agreements and things. We tend to hyper focus sometimes on issues that we really care about. We all love our firearms, and we love to go shoot, and we love to be able to carry. I get it, but sometimes we hyper focus on things that deal with that. And on a federal level, at the federal government, they're dealing with way, way bigger things as far as national security and such. In their mind, than gun control. I can promise you they are.
All right, AWAG. He says, okay, I have a very, very serious question. When would an armed revolt be acceptable? I'm not trying to start one, but when is an armed revolt justified?
The government would have to
when they enter your home and they start forcibly taking weapons. If you're talking about from the gun community side, if you're talking a revolt from the gun community, if they try to come into your homes and into our homes and start trying to confiscate weapons, that's as good a time as any. But I don't think you're ever going to see that. I don't think you're ever going to see the National Guard or police and SWAT teams show up to a house to confiscate weapons. I don't think that's going to happen.
Native Gun out there says an armed revolt will never work. It wouldn't end well. It wouldn't end positively. It would be apocalyptic. Is what it would be. There are other countries in this world that are sitting and waiting for something like that to happen. And you could talk a big game. You can go train with Jaeger. You can have an arsenal, whatever. I'm 3% and talk a big game about how tough you are and how you'll just, you'll get out there and we'll all arm ourselves and go against the government and this, that, and the other. But in the Revolutionary War, the French helped the South, and you're going to have other countries that are going to be coming in and trying to disrupt or prolong it or whatever for their gain. You got to realize we are a global. I don't want to use global society in the sense that Obama liked to use it, like we're all world citizens, but we are. You can hop on a plane and in a day be on the other side of the world doing something. So that you've got to play that factor into when you start talking about this Civil War revolt idea and all this other stuff. Not going to end well, and I'm not saying that it doesn't come to a point that we don't have to do something like that. I'm just making the statement that it's apocalypse at that point. It really is.
Yeah, and they're already saying that there are several states that I'm not saying that cops come to or National Guard or whatever you want to call it, SWAT, come to individual doors. If they're coming to individual doors confiscating weapons, there's obviously a reason that individual has been selected to confiscate their weapons. They're probably felons now or whatever. I'm not talking about specifically like they have a team that goes here because people have broken the law, whatever. I'm talking in masses. I'm talking the government is coming after our guns, and they're going to come to our neighborhoods, and they're going to go door to door. You start seeing tanks rolling down you know, your neighborhood and National Guard and Army and all them are coming into your homes and confiscating all your weapons. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about them going after Joe Blow because he committed a felony and he's being unwilling to turn in his weapons. They've got to send a team in there. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, we're talking a massive, massive undertaking to start a revolt. And remember kind of what Clover was saying. When we had the American Revolution, someone's out there, so maybe it was Nate, said that America was founded on a revolt. You're right, but the revolt wasn't on guns, guys. It was on religion. It was on taxes. It was
on complete freedom. Complete.
It was complete freedom. And I'm not saying that I don't want you to get the idea that I'm not, you know, I'm changing my stance on anything. I'm not. What I'm saying is a revolt, and it's like Clover says, it doesn't end well. You want to get gun control 100% in America, you go right now and revolt against the government with guns, and that's the quickest way we're going to get it. That's the absolute wrong message that we want to send. Now, I'm not saying don't be upset. Don't feel like your rights are being infringed upon, because they are. But guys, that's what I'm trying to talk about, and I think that's what Clover's trying to talk about is this. There is a way to do this. And right now, shouting shall not be infringed every time we get a chance isn't helping. Not saying don't do it, but it's not changing anybody's mind. Threatening a revolt is not changing anybody's mind. You know, the rallies, great. Keep doing them, especially over maybe a month, because the more media coverage we can get. But understand, guys, you know how many rallies are at the White House daily? You know how many people are picketing in front of the White House daily? Do you ever hear about that? No, because the media is only going to put out there what they want to put out there. Not saying don't do it, but we have to come up with a different strategy. We can't use the same strategy that won in 2013 with Sandy Hook. It's a different world. It's a different media. It's a different social media right now. Okay? We are in a much different time than we were 5 years ago. We can't use the same thing and say, well, it worked in 2013. Yeah, guess what, guys? The media and the Democrats got their asses beat in 2013. You don't think they've learned their lessons? You don't think they're going to try something different? So we have to be able to adapt also. And what I'm saying to you guys is being vigilant and being pro-Second Amendment activists does not necessarily mean yelling at people and cussing at them and making videos out there and saying that we have to accept. I'm going to say the same thing that I'm calling out Matt. No, I will never have to admit that an AR-15 is a weapon of war. It is not. It was never intended to be a weapon of war. It is a copy of the M16, but it is a gas-operated semi-automatic rifle. That's all it is. It is not a weapon of war. And you can't call it that. And for you to be out there, Matt, and I'm sorry, you might not like this, so be it. For you to go out there and publicly say that we have to just go ahead and accept the fact that an AR-15 is a weapon of war is absolute bullshit. It is not, and it never was intended to be. Let's be real about that. You're killing us right now by putting stuff out there. You're chasing trends, and you're trying to throw these shock jock videos out there, and you're absolutely fucking killing us right now. So stop it. Like, stop doing that shit. If you want to make a point, then make a point. But don't go out there and put these videos out there. They're going to split the community up and make the entire community look like one thing. That they are. Just stop. Please stop right now, because you're killing all of us. Sorry about the rant. My bad. Why don't you go ahead and finish that up real quick? Because
you're preaching to a choir with me, because
I know.
A weapon of war is, that's what a military is going to use. If we were to enter into a civil war and have to fight a National Guard or a branch of the U.S. military, the things they are using is what we should have. I agree that and I think this is probably where Matt's coming from, but I think he's a little misguided in coming from there, is that the Second Amendment was about that. It was about arms, which are weapons of war. I get it. But when we're talking about an AR-15, we get into definitions at that point, and it is not a weapon of war. It's just not.
Ben's talking about starting a Second Amendment rally in Maryland. I think they've already got someone going in Maryland. Go to the Facebook rallies.
What is it? Captain Burrs, maybe?
Yeah, I can't remember who did it.
In Delaware. I don't remember.
I've been Delaware, but I think someone's working in Maryland. So get with them and get on the Facebook page, Ben. It's 2A Capital Rally on Facebook. I'll put the link here in a second when I get a chance. And just say who all's in Maryland, who's running the show in Maryland, and people will let you know what's going on. But I think there's someone in Maryland that you can probably help. Let's see here. Hold on here. This is honestly how it is, though, guys. It is. I'm just going through the chat. Sorry. Yeah, Ghost at NEA. I love Matt, but here's the thing: in the last week, I get what Matt's trying to do, and I'm nothing against Matt, but he needs to understand that not everything has to be a black and white issue.
Well, it's an issue where you're not going to reach the people that we need. Those reasonable people in the middle. There's two different things. We get all infuriated, and we get infuriated by that small percent on the extreme left or whatever, those hardcore anti-gunners, and they create a situation to where it makes us want to speak to the middle people in that same tone, in that same way. And you don't, I was on, give me an example of this, and I'll make it relate. I sat in on Rich's chat last night for a few minutes, for a little while. And I don't remember who it was talking about, he worked with a lady that was, and they're semi-pro gun, do some shotgun tournaments and things like that, through the office, right? And that he worked across the hall or something in another office with a lady, and she was like anti-gun, and that they brought a shotgun in once, and somebody was showing it off or something, and they like racked it or something, and she was like, "Oh my God, don't do that! Not around me! You need to get that out of here!" And he's like, and she's just scared of guns. Is what he said. Right, and then he goes all off into, and I told her, if somebody breaks into your house, what are you going to do? If somebody tries to rape you, what are you going to do? And it goes to the same mentality Matt is portraying, like put Matt in that situation. And Matt goes, well, don't you realize, that AR-15s are weapons of war? Well, this lady's already scared for some reason. So how about we start the conversation by calmly sitting her down and going, hey, what scares you about firearms? Why are you afraid of them? Let's start with that as the conversation, and then go from there. That way we understand. Maybe she's under all of these misconceptions.
Right.
Maybe she's just flat out inexperienced, I should say. We don't know. Maybe she's had some kind of a traumatic event in her life. But we don't get aggressive. We figure out with people like that, first of all, what's the issue here? Let's find the root issue. Her hating guns and being scared of guns and not liking guns is not a root issue. It's the result of something. Let's get to that. Let's build the conversation around that, and then go from there. If we start from there and we get to a point that, okay, this just went way left. She just went way left on me here, then yeah, cut ties, walk away, whatever. But, try to relate to people first. Yeah.
Well, Fee's out there, and he makes a good point. He just said, gun owners still think we can out-debate the anti-gun crowd. This is never going to happen. No reasonable person is going to sit down with, I'm assuming he's trying to say the German, since they're kind of regulating, I'm not even going to say the word, because that might get a flag just by saying that word, but the German forces in World War II, we'll call them that, discuss the merits of others. We have to change the tactics. You're right. And that's what we're talking about. We're not saying that when you engage into a conversation, whether it's a debate or just a conversation, understand that your purpose in that debate is not to change their minds right then and there. You're probably never going to have them sit there and after a 5 or 10 minute debate say, golly, Trey, you know what? You've made such good sense. I'm going to flip my thinking 180 degrees from what I've thought my entire life because of the last 10 minutes. No one's that good. No one is that good.
And
what you're trying to do is plant the seed, like you said, plant the seed and make them at least go back and relook at their position and make them look at our stance and say, you know what? He makes some really good points. I wonder if it's all true. Be factual, and if they do go back, that's how you start changing minds. They're not going to walk away after a 5-minute debate and say, I'm 180 degrees change. I'm very pro gun now. Now, if they do that, then they weren't as anti-gun as they said they were to begin with. So let's be real about that as well.
Yeah. Well, Ben out there is saying, why the political correctness? And let me correct you a little bit, Ben. We're not talking about political correctness. I understand that you're in high school and you're a little bit inexperienced with things.
Right.
Okay. There's nothing politically incorrect about trying to figure out where somebody's coming from in order to start the conversation appropriately. That's not political correctness.
All right. Well, Psycho Camp's out there, and I tell you what, Psycho's been very vocal today, which I love. I love that.
He always is.
He always is. But he says 75 million gun owners, some of which are FUDs, 330 million total Americans. We don't have time to educate everybody. Well, I'll tell you what, Psycho, if you're not trying to educate them and you're trying to beat them on emotion, we lose that anyway. So if we're going to lose, let's at least go down, making it factual to maybe we change our minds down the road.
We lose on yelling and screaming too. We've already done that. We've lost on emotion. That's proven. We've lost on yelling and screaming. It's proven.
That's right. The last step is education, and it might take longer than we thought. But like I said, if it changes in a year or so, it's better than never changing at all. But we're not going to beat them on emotion, and we're not going to beat them at shouting at the moon because we've already lost those wars. We lose them every time. So, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not trying to be the pessimist, but I'm just saying here and saying that we've got to change our strategy. What has worked over the last 5 years and 10 and 20 years is no longer the same. They have gotten smarter, guys. These are not dumb people over there. They realize they got their asses beat in 2013. You think they're stupid enough to stay doing the same thing? No. Let's be real about it. They've got the celebrities now being public about it. They are willing and able to exploit young high school kids to get their point across. They're fighting dirty.
Yeah.
Fight with emotion.
Screaming Skull says, we need new blood, breed and be plentiful. I said before, and I was talking about mainly current events in Parkland, about buying time. But really, I think that's all we've got to do. I think we've got you've heard me talk about this before on the Wednesday show and what have you. I really do think, and this is not just my opinion, but I've watched many a video and read many an article, publication, whatever you want to call it, that this next generation coming up behind the millennials have seen so much craziness, silliness, and goofiness in the world with, boys not being boys, girls not being girls, parents just letting kids do whatever, no structure, in society, in the home, and they don't like it. It's finally come to a tipping point. And by all accounts, that next generation is going to be one of the most conservative. So, you're going to potentially start seeing a shift. Now, it's like, who said it? Was it Franklin that said something about being one generation away? So, after that generation, who knows? I get it. But, if we could buy some time until they get into, the vocal thing and all that, what you've got to realize is the kids in Florida, and there's been a lot of conversation. Well, there's been a lot of picking on them, quite honestly. But there's been a lot going around about the kids in Florida. The kids in Florida do not represent even the majority of kids in Florida, let alone the majority of kids across the nation. Okay. So don't let that taint what I'm saying about this next generation. They're a very, very, very small portion, as is the anti-gunners in the left that are fighting and freaking, they're not winning. We're giving it up. Let's be honest. But that we go against on a daily basis here. They're a very, very small, a very, very small portion that Ben out there says most of his generation has almost no memory of 9/11 and has seen more rights get taken away than any generation. The tides are changing in our favor. Yeah, so Ben's agreeing, and Ben is there. He's one of that, basically that generation. I'm talking more along the lines of 13, 14-year-olds through probably 18 right now. When I say generation, but yeah, they've seen so much going on. Yeah, totally agree.
I saw a point up there, and I want to bring it up. I carry my revolver out there. Says, in my opinion, it seems like these tragedies should do the opposite effect. These situations should make people want to arm themselves. And honestly, I think that they are. And I haven't seen exactly. I want to come back to what Cycle Campus said. I haven't read it yet, but I asked him what he wants to do to fight, and I'm interested in his answer to that. But I think that it is, because even my wife is not anti-gun. She just is indifferent whatsoever. She could care less about guns. She's not saying that we shouldn't have them. She's just saying, keep them the hell away from me. I have no desire, which is fine. This is fine. But even she's sitting there saying, man, the more and more that you read the newspaper and you watch the news and see what's going on and all this stuff about guns, I'm surprised there aren't a lot more people that are wanting to go buy more guns. And I said, they are. You're seeing a large influx of concealed carry permits being applied for right now. I went and took my enhanced CCW class yesterday, and I think a stat was thrown out in the room that there was like 7,300 concealed carry applicants last year in our state. And that's a huge number for a small state, for any state really, but for a small state, it's a huge number. And so I do believe that you're going to start seeing more people saying, well, all this bad rhetoric about guns and violence and all that are out there. Well, hell, if it's that bad out there, then maybe I should have one to defend myself. So I think that the media is actually, to a small extent, helping our cause a little bit, because it is doomsday everywhere. And everyone's out to kill everybody, apparently, and it's going to be a Sunday, Bloody Sunday on the streets one day in America. But, I do believe that there are people that are willing to arm themselves to protect themselves and their families. So I don't think it's all a bad thing that the media is doing. Obviously, I'd rather them not do what they're doing, but I do believe there is a portion of the country that sees what's going on. All right, let's see. Your second cancer education is an issue, because for every one person you reach, the mass media reaches the influences of, I guess it's 1 million people. I'm not very good at counting zeros. I do not know how to fight this anymore. No, and that was my whole point. I'm not sitting there trying to talk down or anything, Bill, because, I mean, you and I are good friends, but
he fights plenty up there in Connecticut.
He does.
One of the ones, I don't know if he's playing devil's advocate out there or what's up with Cycle. Yeah, I don't know what's up with Cycle in the chat, if he's playing devil's advocate or what, but he's behind the lines and he's up there and in the trenches, and he does a lot. So, for him to say, that says a lot for him to say that he really doesn't know what to do anymore, because he does so much. So that right there tells you that doing the same things we've been doing for years it's not working. We've got to switch it up. We got to mix it up. We've got to.
No doubt. And I like I said, I don't know what the answer to that is, but I can tell you that like you said, what we have been doing is going to have to change, because they've changed. They've changed their fight. Like I said, they are going after celebrities. They're trying to get celebrities to start funding some of these marches and these projects. They are obviously willing and able to exploit 16, 17, 18-year-old kids that were just involved in a tragic shooting. They're willing to exploit these kids. If you think they're willing to exploit these kids, what else are they willing to do? Pretty much anything. They are trying not to let 2013 happen again. So if we want to make sure that 2013 happens again and we defeat their asses and kick them back down to the curb and let them know that, hey, you're not going to come after our guns, then we're going to have to step up our game too. The answer is I don't know what to do, because we don't have a mass media outlet to help support our messages like they do. It's going to be one of those things where it's going to have to be, and I think Gunpowder out there saying one person at a time. And that's the whole thing we're trying to talk about, guys, is one person at a time. Is how do we get those one people? It's sure as hell not by yelling at them. It's sure as hell not by cussing at them. It's sure as hell not sitting there saying shall not be infringed. It's a constitutional right. They don't care about the constitutional rights. That's why they don't believe in guns to begin with.
And one person doesn't seem like a lot. I get that. I get how that can be disheartening so the cycle can't do it out there. It's like, one person at a time, and the media is getting 1 million at a time. Well, right, I get that, right. But there's a couple of variables at play. First of all, we can modify it in a way to where we genuinely care and we genuinely want you to be on our side with this. We don't just want you to show up just to be counted as a number or sign a freaking petition. This is why I hate the petitions that people do online on our side so often. Anybody can sign that petition. It don't mean crap. It doesn't mean anybody's invested in anything or even agrees with you. Just that they signed a freaking piece of paper. Okay. Right. So if you can reach that one person, then you show them, like I said, calm, rational, state the facts that support the truths that you're talking about. Okay. And it may not win them over today, it may not win them over tomorrow, it may be next week or next year before they realize, hey, that person I talked to was right. Okay. And then it starts them down. Everybody has a tipping point and a turning point. And when there's might be, who knows, but then you never know who that one person that you affect might be. They might be a store owner, and then they may affect 3 people a day for the rest of their life. Or they may be somebody that has social media and has 100,000 subs or 2 million subs. Or maybe right. They start some YouTube next week and have that following them, that they can get their ideas out. Maybe they got 10,000 followers on Instagram. You know what I mean? It can, we look at it. Yes, I see how it's disheartening, one person at a time, but then that one person, I mean, we have access, you and I and many out in the chat have access to, literally hundreds, if not thousands of people a day. So, right. If you're reaching out to one person and then they're able to reach out to thousands, and then they affect maybe 2 or 3, and then that just feeds on itself, right. Then, I mean, a movement can grow and it genuinely be a grassroots movement.
Right. A couple things out there. The Pants is out there saying times are changing. Fewer and fewer people look to mainstream media. Everything is going online. This is good for us. That's a good point. Psycho Camp says social media was the logical opponent of mass media, and now they're coming after us on social media platforms.
You just got to know how to play it. You got to know how to play it. You got to know how to play
it. And Ben is out there talking about his high school. He's noticed that in his high school this year, there's a lot of more pro-gun mentality than previous years. Do you think the media could be causing the mentality shift in our favor? I don't know. I will say that the media helps because here's the thing. I think there are a lot of people in this country that are tired of feeling bad about ourselves. Everything we hear from the media is this country's shit. We have a crappy president. The world hates us. Our economy's bad. Our insurance is terrible. Or all of this stuff. Everything you hear from the media is negative. And I think people are starting to. You can only go one of 2 ways. You can throw in the towel and say they're right. I might as well not even try anymore. And that's going to happen. Or I think the vast majority of people are sitting there saying, guys, we still live in the best country in the world. America on its worst day is still better than any other country in the world on our worst day. So instead of sitting here feeling bad because the media is saying this, this, and this, I think the media might be hurting themselves a little bit because I think people are tired of hearing every single day how bad it is here. You can't turn on the Tonight Show or any of the talk shows anymore. They're so liberally based. You cannot turn on one of those shows without hearing them blasting our president. Here's the thing. this is just me. If you're going to blast the president, at least do it with a little bit of class and respect. You may not like him, but quit calling him Trump. His name's President Trump. At least have the common courtesy to call your president by his title. You may not like it, but if you're going to be on the Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and all these guys, and all they're going to do is do satirical blasts of the president, at least have the common decency and the class to call him President Trump.
I think it's being consistent. I mean, I say Trump, but then again, I said Obama, and I said Bush, and I said Clinton, and I said Reagan. But a lot of times I'll say the POTUS. If I don't say Trump, I'll say the POTUS. If I was talking about Obama, I'd say, hey, you see what the POTUS did? Whatever. But I think it's consistent. If they said President Obama, then they are President Bush or President Clinton, then they need to say President Trump. I agree. There's a certain amount of decorum and respect there that needs to be given. That's right. And because whether you like him or not, he's our president. And you know what? You guys had your chance on the left, and you couldn't beat him. So there you go. Anyways, that's my little golly. I'm just so sick and tired of the media. But like I said, I think it might be working on our favor a little. And Tardot and Gizzard out there were kind of back and forth a little bit, and Tardot made the comment, and I'm paraphrasing, guys, unfortunately, and then I want to hit on maybe something Smeggy said too, but I'm paraphrasing with their conversation. But Tardot said something about he tries to educate, talk to people, and whether he knows what he's talking about or not. And then Gary said, well, Gary said he thinks that as long as you're rational and calm and talking about it. Here's the thing, okay, and I use that term too now. It's Ellis degenerates rubbing off on us, Ghost. But anyway,
God, I've seen it a lot. I noticed myself saying it.
I say it a lot. I say it a lot anyway. That's honestly not just.
I think I did too, but
I think that's a Southern thing. But anyway, so. I got off track talking about that. Okay, I was talking about Gizzard or not. What was I saying? Oh, the old adage, right? That you catch more flies with honey, right? Meaning that a soft approach, whatever, that sort of thing is going to be better for somebody. You're going to get people to listen more. Well, then you've got another saying that is the comeback to that, which is, yeah, so what? You catch even more flies with bull crap, right? But here's the thing, okay? To quote Ellis, here's the thing with that. The bull crap may attract the flies, okay? May attract the people, spinning your yarn, throwing your BS out there. It may attract people, but in the end, it's BS. It smells, it stinks, it tastes awful. Okay, if you can get them to the honey, they'll stay. They want the honey. They're looking for the honey. They're looking for the stuff that tastes good, and that's the truth, and that's the facts. So don't get discouraged by the left throwing out the BS. Stick to your guns, stick to your facts, and you'll be good.
Yeah.
And then
Smeggy was out there saying something earlier.
Yeah, Smeggy had something that, and it wasn't. He said something about the president there. That wasn't it. But he said something that caught my. Here's what it was. Smeggy said people need to come out of the gun closet. G talked about this not too long ago.
Yeah,
we were talking about how to talk to people, and he was talking about how I've said for a long time you need to get your butts on social media. Okay, you got no reason to be out there griping and whining and crying if you ain't on Twitter, Instagram, even Reddit. If that's your game, I can't navigate it, regardless of whether they like 2-bit content creators or not. But yeah, it's. I don't think that. I think it's a dying platform anyway, honestly. But especially, there's a lot of people on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and not necessarily YouTube. I get the turning on the camera for some folks, whatever. It's really easy to network on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, though, and get on there and just, I'm going to the range today. And a picture of you at the range, or, just some Second Amendment quote out there, or some gun crime statistic, or, you know, thinking about buying this new, you know, throw a picture up of, you know, a new 1911 that you're thinking about buying, even if you end up not buying it, you're just thinking about buying it, you know, throw it up there. And the point is to get it out in a positive way in society, because nobody does that. It's, you see very few, you know, hunting pictures, advocacy, you know, posts and pictures, and bought this at the gun store and went shooting today and stuff like that. You see very little of that consistently. But as soon as a tragedy strikes, we're inundated with post after post after repost of negativity. We need to get it all out there. Just everyday life. Firearms are a part of our everyday life. Here it is in your face. You know, it's not a big deal. This is a part of Americana. Always has been, always will be. Here it is. You know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, getting out and you know, everyone all of us who are fairly consistent activists for the Second Amendment understand when I say this, that the vast majority of quote unquote activists are only activists when they're scared. And we know this. It's no new news to us about this. And that's the issue, is it's hard to take a movement serious when it's only in flashes, and it's only when times are bad. What really makes a movement hard is when it's consistent and it never stops. And so, yeah, being on social media, posting, you know, something about a gun and not being in your face, you know, shooting a saw or something. It's just posting a picture of, you know, you and your daughter at the gun range, you know, something like that. It's something that's awesome. That's why I put out yesterday that my daughter's shooting a video of her taking her CCW class. You know, that was an awesome thing. And I want people to know that not only am I pro-gun, but my daughter is pro-gun. And, you know, she's taking the next step into her journey of this and getting her CCW license when she's 21. So it's one of those things where being consistent and being consistent year round. If you're only pro-gun when things are bad, then it's easy to ignore us. But we have to, as a community, be very vigilant year round. And when things are looking good, and you said this, I've said this, and everyone said this, that's when we actually have to be even stronger, is take advantage of those times when things are supposedly good, instead of sitting back being bored and doing nothing like we did for the last year before October hit. We had an opportunity to do a lot of things, share, you know, I mean, national reciprocity. We had a chance of doing some major, repealing any gun control from 86 and 94 and all these. We had a chance of doing all of that, but we didn't. We were comfortable. That's when they attack. We've got to stay consistent. We got to stay vigilant at all times. And I think that's going to be the key to making them understand that we're not going anywhere. And they might get the feeling they're winning right now, and they might have emotion. They might have the hearts on their side, but we have the facts, and the facts, I have to assume, eventually will win, but we have to stay vigilant. We have to stay respectful, and we have to stay loud. Anything else going in the chat right now? I saw some good stuff out there. There was just another one. What does this say? I saw my name. Off topic, but have you heard that Best Buy is no longer CDs? Fairly, I don't give a damn about Best Buy selling CDs, Ben. No offense. There's a time and a place for that. I don't care.
I told him I don't care either. It's 2018 already. What's a CD?
I haven't bought a CD since the 90s, dude.
Okay.
You know, maybe the early 2000s. I don't know. What did Einstein's in the hizzy? What's up, Einstein? Yeah. So, anyways, I know G's getting ready to go on here in a couple of minutes. I think he's got a Minuteman thing going on or something. I saw a notification come on. Building an online store, Minuteman Media.
Did he get his strike lifted where he could even do that?
About that, he might be doing it on another channel, but that's a good point. Smeggy, do you know anything of G? And is he feeling better? First of all, let's see here. Well, I don't know. We're gonna keep going, and if we see someone, whether it's gear websites or Daily Gun Show, or we see some,
I mean, unless you just want to kill it. Yeah, unless you just
no, I
want to
don't.
kill it. I've got
I just was saying I don't
I've
want to
got,
say. No, yeah, go for it.
I've got notifications on. So I mean, if any of his
Yeah,
channels, if
that's
it pops
fine.
up, we can jump over. It's not a
We're
big
at
deal.
46 strong right now, and I don't want to go away because people are starting to actually come in now. So,
Well, we were at 30 plus for a
that.
while. So
Yeah, let's throw this out of the chat. We know Cycle, and we've had a pretty good. I mean, there's been a really good conversation in the chat, so I want to say thank you to everyone doing that. But let's get some ideas, and what are some new strategic ways? If you have any ideas, throw them out there, because anything's on the table right now. But we got to be creative and come up with something new. And G said it very well on my chat last Tuesday. He said, we're talking about fighting in while we're being ambushed. Well, let's just not be ambushed anymore. So how do we get away from these ambush points? How do we move the conversation elsewhere to where we're not ambushed? So if you guys have anything out there, we'd love to hear it, because here's my thing is I'm not right. Clover's not right. None of us are right, and none of us are wrong. It's just we have to come up with something different. And the idea may not have even been out there yet. You know what I'm saying? No one might have actually come out and said, what if we do this? Everyone says, oh my God, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So if there's any ideas out there, there's never such thing as bad brainstorming. Say that 10 times real fast. Bad brainstorming. But yeah, if you guys are out there, go ahead and send some chats out there and kind of give us an idea of what you're thinking. And we promise we won't make fun of you too badly. I'm just kidding. Let's see here. Cycle Camp says this is the paradox of government and why you can't tell they are not really for us. Pro-gun legislation drags on, but anti-gun gets fast-tracked. It also helps that the only time they're really trying to push anti-gun legislation is when a tragedy happens. And unfortunately, it's the way of the world. And I'm not preaching to Cycle King, because he knows this all too well, like I said. And like you said, he spends a lot of his time at the Connecticut State House fighting, man. He's a fighter. He's as big of as a Second Amendment activist as there is out there. But even Cycle Camp knows that. And it's not just anti-gun legislation. Let's not make this all about anti-gun legislation. This is legislation in general across the board in all platforms. When there's a tragedy of some sort, that's when legislation gets fast-tracked. It's not because it's anti-gun. It's because there is a massive shooting involving a gun. And so, yes, the emotional plays into it. They're going to try to fast-track as much as they can because it's a political season. On top of that, it's an election cycle coming up this November. More importantly, they're going to put the Republicans in a position right now in this election cycle. They're going to try to fast track gun control legislation. Why? Because if a Republican comes out against it, they're going to crucify that guy for saying you don't care about the 17 kids that got killed in Florida, and his political career is over. So you have to be very, they're playing it smartly. But even Republicans cannot come out and be starch against this right now, or their political career is over. That's the reality. As much as it sucks, that's the reality. Let's see here. He was in the cave. G was in the cave. Yeah, I got a text from him yesterday. He was not feeling well Friday night. I think he started feeling better yesterday afternoon. So he had a little 24-hour bug, I think. Gunpowder says, great chat. Thank you. Give students and teachers, holy hell. Give students and teachers incentives to get educated about guns and arm qualified high school seniors and teachers. Never going to happen, Ben. They're never going to let high school seniors bring guns to school. Never going to happen. Make the message guns are so people don't become victims. What? Okay. Einstein says we just need the NRA to spend our money, which they have a lot, on court and Supreme Court challenges. Politicians are now self-serving. Yes, they are. Nothing changes people's hearts and minds like a tragedy. We need to find something that happens, make them realize they need a gun. That is very true. Nut, I carry my revolver says, do they really think none of them parents in the CNN town hall meeting wasn't gun owners? Oh, hell yeah. But they're not going to let them get in front of a microphone, I promise you. Atypical Jake, Take someone who is skeptical to the range. Don't overwhelm them with too much. A 9mm 1022. Save the 10mm and 308s for a different trip. The goal is to get them to go again. That is a fantastic point, Jake. Well done, my friend. Clover, I've got to go run the restroom real quick. You want to take over for a few? Because I got to go.
Yeah, I can.
I'll be right back. I can get a link out to someone. Bring them on in.
I can do some 102s. I can get some 102s out. I can run it into the ground. That's all good. Let's see. What do we have out here? I haven't been looking through the chat too much. I don't know where Ghost let off, unfortunately. So I don't know where to jump in and respond. That's the West guy saying, if you don't vote for pubs, then who? Dems? Depends on the Democrats, quite honestly. On a federal level, yeah, I don't think that. I think there's a few libertarians out there, possibly on a federal level, and then Republicans are going to be the better of the two choices there. A lot of times the liberals, unfortunately, libertarians don't have any chance of winning those races, in large part because of funding, unfortunately. Rigo says, what are 102s? 102 is cursing. That's the algorithm code. For dirty words, for the 7 dirty words you can't say on TV or radio or whatever it is. Yeah. But yeah, on a more local level and even a state level, there's certainly some Democrats that are pro Second Amendment, but that goes back into people being multi-issue, and we're sitting here and we're looking at this from a pro Second Amendment standpoint because that's our lives, it's our livelihood, it's what we do, it's what we're passionate about. But I know people that would give up all the guns to completely stop abortion, for example. If they passed a thing that said abortion was legal, they would pretty much give away semi-automatics. I don't know if they'd give away all guns. I don't want to go that far. But they would give away semi-automatics probably in large to get a national abortion is illegal across the board law. They would make that compromise. And that's to me that's dangerous, you know. I certainly don't want to get off into any kind of an abortion topic. Good Lord, we've been going too long on the firearm issue now and making good headway, I think. But yeah, just an example of the people out there. So I mean, there's Democrats too. The point being with that is there's people on the right willing to compromise away a large portion of the Second Amendment rights to get something they want because that holds more weight. And with Democrats, there's a lot of pro-second Democrats. It's just shadowed by some of the other craziness that they do or they want, I think, a lot of times. Cycle Kemp says, Clover, so the issue is that there is no tragedy that cannot be used to advance the progressive, increase state control, and reduce rights agenda. We have no way to fight back in this arena.
Yeah.
There's really not a way. There's really not a way that there's not going to be a way. The left is too good. It's too good at fighting emotion because they're too good at invoking that emotion and stoking it. They're just too good at it.
They are.
And there's no platform we can get on to utilize that emotion. That's a tool they can use, but we can't. And we can't because what the item that we're not necessarily trying to defend the item. I get that, but for lack of a better word at the moment, the item we're trying to defend is the one that they're demonizing. That's the one that they're invoking the emotions over. So we have to get away from that. And that's why I say we've got to go into the education mode, but we've also got to be, I mean, whether, it was what Ben said earlier about being politically correct or whatever. Sometimes empathy and sympathy and, emotion sometimes is seen as a weakness, especially in the firearm and in the gun community. But I mean, come on, I mean, when a tragedy happens, I mean, it doesn't break your heart. I mean, really? So, we've got to make sure that we convey that sentiment, and we don't disrespect the feelings, especially the feelings of the people that are going through a tragedy. And go, well, I understand that you're going through this tragedy, but shall not be infringed. No,
that hurts us.
Come on. Apparently you don't understand that they're going through the tragedy.
What's up? Welcome. Jorge's just joining us. What's up, Jorge? Good seeing you, my friend. Darth Magnum says, took my anti-gun cousin to the range. She had fun, but she still doesn't want a gun. I asked her why, and she said she wouldn't be able to take another person's life in self-defense or herself or others.
I know some people that way. They would
here's the thing.
Shoot them all day long, but yeah.
You use the word she's your anti-gun cousin. I don't think she's anti-gun, because if she's anti-gun, she never would have gone to the range in the first place. She may not be a gun owner, but that doesn't mean that she might not be pro-gun. There's a difference of being a gun owner and being pro-gun. You don't have to own a gun necessarily to be pro-gun. You just might be a constitutionalist that said, that's our right. We can have. I choose not to have one. But they're not out there actively fighting against us, so they're more of an ally than an access to us. So just because they don't own a gun, let's not label them as anti-gun.
There's people out there that do not utilize their right to vote. There's people out there that do not utilize the right to free speech. They never really speak out. They just go to work, come home. They don't really, ever get involved in anything that would really fall under free speech protection. There's all kinds of people out there that don't utilize a certain right that's guaranteed by the Constitution. So, I guess the question with Darth out there would be, I understand that there are people that, and I know, or have known, I should say, of some people that are the same way as far as shooting sports or something like that. It's all good, but they're like, I'm not carrying. I couldn't never do that. I couldn't live with myself if I killed somebody else, even if they were trying to kill me first, but, so the question is, does she want to project her feelings and her beliefs on that onto everybody else? Or is that a personal decision she's made? Because if that's a personal decision she's made, kudos to her. I respect that. That's great. If she wants to project it on somebody else, that's wrong.
That's wrong. Now, Smeggy has a good point, basically saying, ask her if she would let someone kill her kids, and you don't want to put them on the spot, because I don't think anyone would like to do that. So that might not be the question we want to ask. You could word it in such a manner and say, I understand that you choose not to have a gun, but, how do you feel about someone being able to protect you and your family if harm was in way? Would you be okay with them using a gun? And if they answer yes, I'm okay with that, then they're not against us. So like you said, just because they choose not to own a gun does not mean they're anti-gun. So I think that that's a very good point you made and all that, because there's a difference between anti-gun and being a non-gun owner. They're not the same.
He says she does, and I'm not real sure what he means by she does. Remember, out there in the chat, we don't really know when you type that, so be specific if you answer.
Kids, he says.
But I've got a couple of questions for you, Darth.
Oh, Smeggy says that he asked that between he and his mom. I guess Smeggy asked that question to his mom.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
How go for you, Smeg?
Well, for Darth, I'm wondering on the issue, and to Smeggy to an extent, when you brought up about Darth's friend or whatever out there and her beliefs, why she couldn't. I would start the conversation with, if she's saying that she doesn't think that she could ever do that, I would start the conversation with, why do you think that? That's where I would start that conversation.
Yeah. And
maybe she says, well, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in prison, and you're like, well, hold on a minute. That if you go get your concealed license and you're justified and you're trying to protect your house and your kids, you're not going to go to prison.
that his mom said she'd save his sister, but not him because he was a brat.
Okay, breaking news here. I have breaking news. I'm gonna tap my earbud. Kevin the Tack Daddy is apparently now anti-gun. So I'm just putting that out there.
Apparently. Yeah, right. Yeah. Welcome, James Seckinger. James out there, and I haven't seen James before, so if you are new to the show, welcome. My name is Trey with Ghost Tactical. You've got Clover Tack over here, and we usually do our own stuff, but we've decided every now and then we're going to go live and do a show together. We talk pretty much every day, so we might as well do it live. But James says I questioned when I bought my first gun from a friend if I could take another life, but when you have kids, that question is answered easily, I think. Now, let me say this. This is a point that is tough. We would all like to believe that we would be more than willing to take someone's life if it was in defense of our family. Every single one of us in this room, I suspect you wouldn't be in on this chat if you weren't at least somewhat pro-gun. Every one of us would like to think that. So that's a good thing. I don't think anyone that owns a gun, whether they're actually pro-gun or they just happen to be indifferent, they just happen to own a gun for self-defense. I don't think anyone goes to buy a gun just to say, ooh, I've got a cool gun. I think they all buy it for the first gun, at least. Most everybody's first gun is meant for a purpose, and that purpose is typically self-home defense, whatever you want to call it. But what we're talking about is the people that don't own guns, but aren't necessarily anti-gun. They have no problem with anyone else having a gun. They just choose not to themselves have a gun. And I think it's a very much respectful to sit there and say, you know what, if this person out there says that you can have your guns, it's fine. I just don't think I could take a life. Then you have to respect that because at least they're honest with themselves and they understand their limitations, and everybody has limitations.
I mean, and we've discussed it before on other shows, multiples, I'm sure. It's the odds of having some type of an altercation that you have to deal with some type of force, okay, is probably going to be slim anyway, for the most part. Or the probability, I should say, of it is slim for the most part. And then in that altercation, there are non-lethal methods that would allow you to get away. We've talked about when talking about, our girls, for example, on college campus and stuff like that, just enough of a thing just to get away, a lot of times it can work.
In the threat. And it doesn't always mean by death.
Yeah. As far as the, I just wanted to address the, being able to take a life thing from my standpoint. Because that was, when I went and did my carry course, it was years ago, he was a retired Texas Department of Public Safety, which is state cop, highway patrol. And, he talked about that pretty much in pretty good length about, dealing with the aftermath. You do this, there's things you're going to have to live with, and you need to understand that going in and this, that, and the other. But, he made the point, and it always stuck with me. That's why you train. That's why you train yourself to, that way. It's muscle memory, it's response reaction, that sort of thing. When an event occurs, that way you're not thinking about that sort of stuff. You do what you got to do to stop the threat, right?
Yep. And
then you deal with the aftermath later. And from my perspective, it's one of them situations to where I don't want to, but I'm not gonna think twice about it if I've got to protect myself or my family. And I hope that I can deal with it later on. If I can't, so be it. But hopefully if I live the rest of my life in torment because I saved my family, I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
Exactly. Now, AWAG has an interesting, and I think this could be a really fun topic to talk about. AWAG says his boss is blatantly anti-gun, and he's got a bit of an ego problem. He doesn't seem to care about his kids, and he gives him crap for owning firearms. Is there a way he can change his mind about guns? Honestly, probably not. But what you can do is probably help him understand why you do like guns and why you think it's necessary. There's a difference between changing someone's mind and being empathetic to a cause. You may not be able to get him to be pro gun, but if you can make him understand why you are, then that could be just as big of a win as turning him from the dark side to our side. A lot of time is, as we talked about this before, ask him why he's so anti-gun. He might be giving you hell, but has he ever given you reasons as to why he feels that way? Just have a civil conversation. Ask him why. Ask him how would he feel if they decided to take away his freedom of speech and his First Amendment. What if they took away the Fifth Amendment that allowed him not to put himself in a position to incriminate himself in a court of law? Ask him how he feels about freedom of religion, freedom of the press. Ask him if any of these were taken away from his personal life, how would he feel? Instead of making it a gun issue, make it a Constitution issue. Make it an American issue. Part of what America was founded upon was the right to defend ourselves against others in threats inside and outside, including a tyrannical government. Okay. It's also allowed to protect us and our families and our properties against an outside threat that could be something as simple as a burglar. This country was founded and its constitution was based on several rights that are very much important to never change. That's what makes us who we are. So just ask him, say, hey, I understand you may not like guns. He says, but do you not agree with the fact that I have the right to have a gun, whether you like them or not? Do I not have the right? Does the Constitution not give me the right to defend myself? Whether you choose to defend yourself and your family is one thing, but that doesn't mean that I don't have my right. And by him giving you crap about owning guns, he's exercising his First Amendment. Ask him, what if someone was to put you in jail for saying that because you're speaking your mind? You're giving me crap over owning a gun because you have freedom of speech. What if someone came in and told you that you can no longer speak your mind because we're taking away the First Amendment? You start talking in ways like that, instead of being defensive about guns, open their minds to other things that they could take away, not just guns. And maybe they start seeing the whole side of, this is a right. This is not a fun thing that we just choose to have. It's our right. And if you start taking rights away, you're reworking what America is. And if he loves America and loves the freedoms that we have, then he has to accept all freedoms, not just the ones that he chooses to like. That's my soapbox. What do you got about that?
I was responding to Mr. Two Strike out there, but
what did he say?
He said, I don't have that torment myself forever bone in my body. It would bother me. It would not bother me one little bit. I don't understand people that have that concern. Well, if you don't understand people that have that concern, first of all, then good luck trying to advocate in the manner that we're talking about, because you have to be able to read and understand people to an extent. And my response to him was pretty simple. I've asked the question, has he ever taken a life? Because until you've taken a life, I don't think there's any way you can possibly know whether you're going to be okay with that or not. You know, whether or not you may be okay. You may have nightmares forever. You may require some type of therapy. You may require some type of psychotic drug for the rest of your life. It may mess you up so bad. How can you possibly know this? And let me tell you how I know this. I worked volunteer fire for 15 years. I still have nightmares about scooping up, literally, a 15-year-old kid that burned to death in the hallway of his house because he ran back into a burning house because they were poor and he just got a brand new laptop for Christmas. And he had to go into that burning house and get his laptop with his grandparents who he lived with at the time, hollering, you know, don't go in, whatever, get back here. And we found him about 6 foot in the doorway of the front hall, collapsed, and we literally had to scoop him into a body bag. And I know that's graphic. I get you. But I'm making the point that I have nightmares about that to this day, and that's probably been 15 years ago. There are traumatic events and stuff that do affect you and do bother you to some extent. So we can be tough guys all we want and be John Wayne or Clint Eastwood and bang, bang, shoot them up, not care less. But that's disingenuous to the cause. to act like that, because we're all humans, and things are going to affect us. So, and some people more than others.
You know, and you and I have talked about this, and I talk about it extensively. Um, PTSD is very, very real, and we're not talking just in veterans. We're talking everyone. But I'll take the veteran side of it because I see, and I work with a lot of this, and I know a lot of people that have gone through it. I was lucky that I never, that I know of, I never seemed to show signs. I was never told that I seemed to show signs of anything. That being said, PTSD is a real thing, but why is it a real thing? Because I'll put it to you this way. When I was flying over in early of 1995, we were flying over to Somalia, and my captain that was with us basically said, you're going to see things that you never thought you'd see before. You will see men using women and children as shields. You will see 10-year-old children with AK-47s and M16s and anything that they could possibly get their hands on. And they have no other thought but to kill ugly Americans. Our moralities and our moral base is based off of, and is in America as a whole, is based off of Christianity. You know, treat people how you want to be treated, the golden rule. So our morality tells us not to shoot a child. That's not reality, folks. For a lot of these people, you have to survive, and you're doing your job. And yes, there are some ugly things in war. War is definitely not pretty. And you have to do some ugly things to survive. And it's not necessarily for the greatest cause of America. And me and Squib's out there. Me and Squib a few months ago kind of got into a little bit in a chat, and I love him. He's a Marine brother of mine, so I respect it. But you know, everyone even has different thought processes of what our job is. And let's make no mistake about it: if you're not scared in those situations, then you're lying, or you haven't been there. That's the reality. Second of all, there comes a point in time when you're being shot at, or you're in a situation that seems like it's going to be very, very difficult, and you're not thinking about, I'm doing this for America. I'm not going to lie, I'm as patriotic as it comes. You're trying to survive to get home to see your wife and your kids, or your mom and your dad, or your brothers and sisters. You're being selfish at that point. You're going to do whatever I got to do to get home, or to get out of this and get back to camp, whatever it is. You're not always thinking, I'm doing this for America, you know, Wolverines or whatever. You know, you're not thinking that way. So what happens is there's a part in your mind. It's either, what is they call it, fight or flight? Is that what they call it, Clover? You either fight or you run. And if you run, that's fine. That's your choice. But those people that run will have issues the rest of their life about running. If they fight and they have to harm or kill somebody, they're probably going to have issues for the rest of their life, because our morals tell us not to take someone else's life. And that's reality. Whether you're a fireman, whether you're a soldier, whether you're a cop, whether you're just a normal human being that concealed carries, that has to take out a threat at Walmart because he's getting ready to shoot the place up, or anything like that. If you have to take someone's life, it's going to change you. And there's no way around it. And I agree with you. You can sit there and be a big, tough guy. And, you know, if you're acting like you're all hard and all that, one of two things has happened. Either you are an evil-minded person that has no morals whatsoever, or you've never been in that situation. One of the two. And I hate to say that about people, but people don't know until they've been in a situation where they might have to make that decision. Yeah. So, you know, go for it. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, yeah, no, I mean, that's my point. I mean, there's several out there in the chat that were talking about, you know, people they know that's had altercations or had to do something, or even themselves. And my point is not that you're not going to be able to deal with it. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, my little story about the kid that burned up in the house, I mean, I deal with that. It doesn't affect my life. You know, I just wake up from a nightmare every now and then. It's not a big deal, but it had an effect on me.
That's right.
You know, that I'll have to live with the rest of my life, however minor that is. And the point is that, you know, it may be something minor like that, and it may be nothing at all. but it could be debilitating. And the problem is you don't know. Where I'm talking mainly to the people that have never been in that situation, because I've never been in a situation where I've ever taken a life. You're not going to know until it happens.
Revolver out there makes a really good point. He said only good people would feel bad. Bad people obviously won't feel anything when taking a life. It can only affect good-hearted people, and that's so true.
Yeah.
But understand one thing is the people, and this is just the way it is. The people that feel nothing, and we're talking strictly about taking someone's life. If there's a human being out there that takes someone's life and feels nothing, then I'm pretty sure, not 100% of the time, but I'd say 99.99% of the time, that person's going to be able to, you're going to be able to find some psychological issues with it, either a sociopath, a psychopath, or differences. But there's going to be something mentally wrong when you don't feel anything when taking a life. And those are the scary ones. Those are the scary ones.
Right.
Let's see. Ben out there says his teacher told him that there are 3 reasons for joining the military: patriotism, to hurt and kill people for a living, or you screwed up life and had nowhere else to go. And I would sit there and say your teacher obviously never served. Are those 3 reasons among the reasons? Absolutely. Some people go to join the military to get their college paid for, if not a large chunk of it. Patriotism is a whole different thing. Some people feel obligated to serve their country. For a lot of people, it has nothing to do with serving their country. They have a sense of duty. And it's not necessarily a duty for their country. It's a sense of serving someone, being part of a brotherhood, being part of a team, being part of something that's bigger than you. And that's a very, very strong thing. Patriotism is an aspect of it, but people will serve to serve a higher good, and it may not just be American. It might be our way of life. It might just be something that a lot of people serve because that's what their family does. You might have 4 or 5 generations of your family that everyone served, and it just might be a way of your family's life. That has nothing to do with patriotism or anything else. It's just that's what you know. So to be so short-minded, obviously they probably never served. That's
from a veteran's perspective, the number 2 there, people joining simply to hurt or kill people for a living, that can't be that prevalent.
I would say they're probably not going to make it through the psychological screening, because that question is actually asked in your we used to call it MEPS. I don't know what it's called now, but your screening.
And I mean, we've had people over time, obviously, that have, crossed lines and all kinds of things. I get that. But, I'm talking about, on any type of a relevant percentage basis. That can't be. They may join thinking that, I guess, because he's talking about the reasons that they join.
Right.
So, I guess that could be in their mind when they're joining, but
Yeah, there are people that join the police force because they want to carry a gun legally or something. I don't know.
For the authoritarian
power.
position. Yeah, that's true.
I'm not saying that there aren't people, but I just don't.
I would just think that if people, what I'm getting at is if people kind of go in thinking that, I would think that maybe, and I don't know that. That's why I said from a veteran's perspective, I would think that once they got in, that probably the structure and the discipline and with everything else in the military, it would tend to get that idea out of most of their heads.
Hey, AWAG said he's got to get out of here.
Wait,
thank you, Clover and Ghost, for your services. Comes from the bottom. Hey, that's whatever, man. I appreciate your support.
I don't have no services. Talking about military, I'm just want that known.
I think you're talking about you're being a firefighter, because that's just as important as anything, especially a volunteer firefighter. People don't understand that the volunteer firefighters, the volunteer deputies, and all that. You throw your life in danger for no pay whatsoever.
Well, that's true, but I've never put myself in that category with the guys that do it day in and day out, for a living.
Well, I'll say this about it. I have some friends of mine that are volunteer firefighters, and They're on call just like anybody else. And a matter of fact, a lot of times, they get calls before other people do because it's cheaper. I think they get like $15 for every time they get in a truck or something instead of having a salary. So they utilize the volunteer fire department a lot. So don't ever, if you're, I'm not saying just you, Clover, but anyone out there, if you're a volunteer firefighter, a volunteer EMT, a volunteer police officer, deputy, or whatever, they have all of these different programs. If you volunteer, if you're a volunteer coach at your high school, anything that you volunteer to help the community out, don't ever degrade the meaning of what you do for your community, because you're serving people for nothing by your choice, and that is very honorable. So yeah, thank you to all you guys that do that. I've never done that. I coach a lot, but I've never served as a firefighter and all all that. So
I'm just being modest and humble, then, I guess, or something. Because I seriously, I don't put myself in that category. Especially
I understand that. I understand that, but I think it is kind of people don't think of those people a lot. I'm not saying you, but the communities usually tend to forget about those people, and they do play a large role. So
yeah, I mean, it's one of the things you don't ever hardly think about it until you need them.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially firemen across the board get because I mean, your house burning down is one of them things that the probability is fairly low, right? So, the odds of you dealing with that, your odds of running into a police officer, what I'm saying, are pretty high, but
right.
House burning down comparatively is pretty low. So yeah, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do that. No, I don't do that no more. But I will tell you this: in doing that, every single Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve was like fire day. Every year you could count on it. It was like clockwork.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. People running heaters because it's wintertime, or fire get out because of the fireplace or something. I don't know, but it was every year.
Yeah. Let's see here. I don't know. I guess Squib and Tack are having a discussion out there. I think that's back and forth. I'm not real sure. I'll let them deal with that. They're both grown ass men. They can do that. Let's see here. Yes, what I said. G's alive, and it's good to hear that you're maybe feeling a little better. G, we got a little nervous there when the Daily Gun Show doesn't come on. Some people start freaking out a little bit. There's something's got to be wrong. So it's good to see G feeling better. And
he says 40 and 44 thumbs, 37 watching. Fake thumbs.
Ghost thumbs. Yeah, Tack Daddy says thumb envy. we were well over 50 there for a while. That's where all the thumbs are. So, but thank you for everyone to watch. We hope that we've kind of given you something to break up your monotonous Sunday afternoon. That's kind of what we like to do, is kind of talk about things that's been on our minds. And we're both pretty opinionated. And the funny thing is you and I really don't argue a whole lot because we think so much alike, which I think is interesting. Very
seldom do we. We're usually on it.
We ever argue. I think we may have different opinions, but I don't think we've ever argued. But it's nice to know that we can have civil conversations and still be friends at the end of the day. Einstein out there says time to go to work. Thank you, gentlemen, and take care. Thanks, buddy, for showing up. That is general relativity. I do not like saying all those letters and all that, so I call him Einstein. So Einstein, thanks for dropping by, buddy. I'm assuming. Yeah, I'm not even going to go there. All right, let's see here. James Seckinger says, due to medical reasons, I couldn't enlist, but my dad and two uncles were Marines. One uncle served 2 tours in Nam and never wanted to talk about it, so figured he's seen some really bad things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, probably. And I will say this.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Oh, you may have going to be saying what I was going to say, but go ahead.
Probably.
Yeah, go ahead. You're fine.
No, you go for it. I'm good.
Well, this is coming. I'm not a veteran, obviously, but this is coming from having quite a few veteran friends, and then several that actually did serve in Nam. And, I think all of them didn't have a problem talking to me, but I mean, I was really good friends with them. So I never asked them anything. They would, in conversation, they would say something about it. But pretty much all of them told me, as far as Nam vets, They said most of them, if they talk about it to just anybody, they're lying. That's what they told me. So,
yeah.
doesn't surprise me that what he's talking about his uncles and whatever, and they didn't talk about it, because that's what like I said, the buddies of mine that were non-vets told me.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for the most part that the most you're gonna get out of something is where they were.
Yeah, and I'm talking about bad stuff. I'm talking about detailed.
Yeah, talking about detailed stuff,
detailed missions or whatever they were on, or things like that. If they were talking about that and it wasn't with family or really close friends, then they were lying.
And that's unfortunate, because there are people out there like that, and
there's lots of people. Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I don't know of anyone that would gladly sit down and talk details.
Well, because
servicemen,
and I'm sure
Squib or Patriot or other fellow Marines out there, and we're discussing, where we were, who we were with, and what we did, and where we were. That's a whole different issue.
Oh yeah,
with someone that's not. I mean.
Yeah, James, James out there, he says he honestly love and respect all of them that served, and that's my thing too, and that's why it saddens me when you see people, I don't guess it's necessarily stolen valor if you're bragging about stuff you didn't do or whatever, but it doesn't matter to me if you were, you were on the front lines, or if you were, a cook. I mean, you still were a whole part of the military-industrial complex that still required you to get all of that done. You were a vital component in that. So it really, your status, 5-star general or private, is irrelevant. I mean, if you were over there and you were doing the work that some of us couldn't or wouldn't do, then
that's right.
I mean, props definitely to all of them.
I think a lot of it is what most people that haven't served, what I would say is, and I can't speak for anybody else. And I'm not for sure not going to put words into other people's mouths, but let's be honest about it. When you're there, you're not thinking about glory. You're not thinking about any potential medals or ribbons that your unit might get for being somewhere. The two things you're thinking about? You're thinking about staying alive, and you're thinking about doing your job, because if you don't do your job, your brothers die. So you're thinking about your job, and you're thinking about staying alive. You're not, honestly, if there's anyone out there that's thinking, I'm going to be famous because I'm going to be a war hero, then holy hell, I don't want that person in my unit, because he's going to get all of us killed, because he's going to put himself in front of the unit. And, if there's someone out there that does that, then, but most of the time, I mean, like I said, you're trying to stay alive. Let's be honest with you. You're trying to stay alive. Nobody wants to die.
I've got an uncle, you talk about the cook. It's funny because I got an uncle that was a cook in the Army, and he was actually requested and moved around a lot. He was such a good cook. They would actually request him for certain deployments and stuff. They were like, we need, whatever rank he was, Stevens, they would move him around. So,
yeah,
so he's seen a lot of different hot spots, but he was the cook ultimately.
Well, I mean, you also have to understand, though, is this. Let's take cooks. Let's take supply, stuff like that. You go on and you think that the supply guys are non-combat Marines, or I'm just use Marines because I don't know anything about the Army and all that. Every single supply person is trained just like anybody else. They are, they're just as much. The difference is their everyday job is to getting the guys in the front line supplies. Here's the thing: what do you think is going to be attacked quicker, the front line or the supply chain?
Yeah, exactly.
The supply guys are actually targeted probably more frequently than the front line guys, because if you cut off supplies to the front line guys, it's bad. So I mean, everyone has their purpose. Everyone has their little.
Well, and then look at
look
at the bases. And that's where where the cook would be, for example, and the danger there because they're shelling those bases 24/7, 365, right?
Exactly.
A lot of times.
So if you take out the cooks and the guys can't feed.
I mean, they're after. I would think they would shell them. I would think they were. I would think they were. Yeah, I would think they would probably be shelling them more for communications, intelligence, that sort of thing. Well, but the cooks are still there; they're right in the thick of it. So, you're back there trying to cook dinner with bombs going off, all around you. Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah, Ben's going on and on about his teacher. I'm glad your teacher served. Cooks in the military is code for special. What does it say? Special.
Talking about
Steven Seagal. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Honestly,
I've heard stories about my uncle. He's never told. He's told cook stories. You know what I mean? But he's never told any war stories. But I've heard some things about him that you didn't want to cross him. Not that he ever did anything in combat, but that he knew how to do things in combat. You know what I mean? It's like you didn't want to mess with him.
I carry my revolver, says Ghost Tactical. I don't believe that Colion Noir is a traitor, but Yankee does. What's your thoughts on Colion? I think he's very pro 2A. I will sit there and say this about Colion. When Colion first started as a gun guy / gun channel, he's very much an awesome gun guy, very pro 2A. I remember when he started doing some IDPA stuff. The reason why I started kind of watching him a little bit is because I started getting IDPA as well, and it started talking about him firing a Glock for the first time. I remember watching that video and then going to his very first IDPA match. A lot of what has happened to Colion Noir is not his fault. Let me be very perfectly honest about it. This is my opinion, okay? And Clover might feel completely different, and I'll let him here in a second.
Please.
But yes. I will say that when Colion first started out, I think he was very much pro-gun, very pro 2A. I think what happened is at some point, the NRA made a conscious decision to redefine the face of the NRA. They went after Latina women. They went after, blacks. They were going after. Now, understand, Colion is an attorney in Dallas. So he's a very highly educated black man that speaks extremely well, that happens to be pro-gun. What's the problem? Of course, the NRA went after to be a spokesman. Now, what happens when that happens? You start seeing sub counts go up for whatever reason. We're not going to get into why Colion's sub counts shot through the roof. Understand that when you sell yourself to the devil, you have to do certain things. I still, to this day, believe that Colion Noir, deep down inside, is very much pro-gun, is very much pro 2A. The problem that Colion Noir has now is he's part of big money NRA in the machine, and that has taken some of what he probably truly believes away from him because he is now part of that machine. But I do believe that Colion Noir is still an ambassador of the gun community. I just think that his decision-making process has been limited by outside sources. So that's my opinion. I do not blame 100% Colion Noir for what has happened to him or his channel. I do blame the NRA for a lot of it, but I still think deep down inside there's still a part of Colion that is still on our side for the most part. And I know you probably feel differently, so go for it.
I don't feel differently necessarily. I've just got another perspective. Yeah. I don't believe for a second that he's a traitor in the sense that he's anti Second Amendment. Yankee made that statement, or is making that statement, based on the fact that he's doing what I was called out for basically on Matt's channel earlier, because I'm not a quote unquote supporter of the NRA, more specifically the ILA, that I'm a part of the problem and I don't deserve my gun rights because, I don't support them. And granted, I don't know that that's the way he feels, but like you said, Ghost, I mean, that's part of, he's on a chain being paid by the NRA, and they say, here, get on a video and say this, and he gets on the video and says that, or otherwise he don't get a paycheck, right? So I don't believe he's a traitor in that he truly believes what he's necessarily peddling through some of his videos
Exactly.
that some people find offense to or whatever. That said,
gun world,
here is
every option out there, you know, and he took advantage of an option.
We spent 3 hours now talking primarily about root causes of issues. So let's hit the root cause of the Colion Noir issue. The root cause is his overly conceited, holier than thou self and attitude that he's some type of a freaking rock star, and not just a genuine real person. That's what takes the little bitty things, like, okay, he's a part of the NRA and we don't like the NRA, or he says this about people that don't support the NRA, or, you know, the little controversial things. His attitude, the way he carries himself and portrays himself, and just his, I don't know, would it be his branding, I guess?
Could be, yeah.
That's
I guess
sort of the root cause of why people pick up on that so heavily. Is because he's just an in-your-face kind of guy. And that's not indicative of him. There's other big channels and whatnot that are the same way. We all know this. So, but yeah, you know, is he a traitor? No, I wouldn't go as far as to say traitor. No, definitely not. By the way, I want to give an update just in case that this dude, and I'm not going to mention a username, but just in case the dude from Matt's comment section over there, we have ended our dispute.
Have you now?
A truce has been signed, and the last comment I got from him was, Clover, this is not a personal statement to you. I am tickled you're one of the people out there spreading the experience. So
awesome. There you go.
So things can be resolved. I'm just saying. We did it live right here. We started out with me ranting about the guy, you know, and ended up with the hatchet has for now been buried. So there you go.
Yeah, we're gonna let's talk a little bit real quick about something that we were talking about last night, in respect to some of these gun laws. And I don't know if some of you guys knew from last night that I went to take my enhanced CCW class yesterday for Arkansas. And basically what the enhanced class does is it allows us to carry in a lot more places than our regular CCW permit is. We can now carry, not that I would, I don't understand why, but in bars, I don't understand that whole thing. Why anyone would want to carry in a bar is beyond me, but whatever. You're allowed to carry in a bar. You're allowed to carry in airport terminals outside of TSA, obviously, the ticketing area and all that. You're allowed to carry in state government buildings. You're allowed to carry on college campuses now. The only two basic places that you can't are in courthouses and high schools. And obviously places that, you know, have signs posted and all of that. But what they've done is now what they've said is even though they have a sign posted, you're still not necessarily, if you have the enhanced license, then what they'll have to do is basically tell you verbally next time, or if you stay there after being told you can't, you know, you said, well, screw you, I'm going to stay here anyways. If you stay there or you come back carrying again, but they can't do anything at the time because that's the way the law was written. But one of the things that happened yesterday I thought was really cool. In my side, there's 15 people of us inside the class. And hold on here. There were 15 people, and of the 15 people, I'm saving that real quick. Sorry, go back. Three of them were professors. Okay. And one of them was also the chancellor at a university here in Arkansas. G Webb says his freedoms don't stop when I have a beer, others have a beer. No, I'm not saying that. I don't think it's obviously necessarily talking about freedoms. I think it's just common sense that guns and alcohol may not be the smartest idea, but that's just my opinion. Anyways, the chancellor is there, and what he was saying was that the state of Arkansas allows universities, to public and private, to basically write their own gun prohibition laws, basically. And they can make them prohibit guns on campus. Now, with this enhanced carry license, this supersedes those college regulations. And I asked the chancellor, I said, do you think there will ever be a time that I'm not going to say the name because they might not want to know, but his university would ever lift the prohibition of firearms on campus? He says, not a chance. But he said, but I'm leading by example. And he said, if any one of my professors want to carry, then I'm all for it. All they got to do is go get their first concealed carry license, and then they're enhanced. And the university cannot tell them that they cannot carry on campus anymore because it does supersede those prohibitions. So I thought it was really awesome that the chancellor, I mean, we're talking about the man who leads that university, is taking upon himself to lead by example and say, I believe that professors should have the right to carry. And but it also means for students, if you're a 21-year-old student, you can get that enhanced and carry in your dorm room as well. You can keep them there. You just have to have them on you at all times within an arm's length. You can't store them there, but you can have them in the dorm anywhere on campus, except for I think like some buildings, like the science buildings or chemical labs or something, are obviously going to be no guns because of, for obvious reasons, explosions and all that, but just around campus. But I thought it was awesome that the chancellor is taking a stand and saying, I can't make it personally. He can't say that his teachers should carry, and he can't make it where they can carry, but the state of Arkansas has. And he's saying, look, I'm taking the lead. I'm going to go get mine. He says, I'll be carrying every day in my office. If you have a problem with that, then so be it. But any other professors that want to join me in carrying every day, then go get your enhanced. I thought that was awesome. So it's nice to see an educator standing up and saying, look, I want to be able to defend myself and the students here at my university. And Arkansas has given away a kind of a not a back door, but a side door away around it. And I think that's great. So kudos. I want to pass that story on. That was pretty cool. Let's see here. Uh-oh. Oh, Gizzard said that he's pretty sure that Frank was on a Yankees chat the other night. I only watched a few minutes of Yankees chat yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't have time to watch it either with all the stuff going on. But, yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen him in, since they fixed the live stream, and he got a wrench upside his head like the first appearance after they revamped the whole live stream, and I ain't seen him since. So.
It took about 3 seconds to get out of there, I believe, wasn't it?
I don't know if since they revamped the live stream, if it actually is banning him now the way it's supposed to, or what. So
Kevin says that he stopped watching Yankee after he realized he sucks. Yankee has a purpose in the gun community, and I like Yankee. I think he's a funny guy. I think that
Yankee's very calculated.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't do anything for what you might think is
let him fool you
off the edge. It's planned. He's very, very smart about that stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right. Well, it sounds like the chat is kind of going about Smeggy now. So Smeggy, why
I think Smeggy and G are having a battle.
I think they are, maybe.
I don't know. I don't get it.
He says, Tax says he likes him, he still sucks. I do not.
Can't all be Kevin the Tax
content. I can't. I can say that I don't always like his content, but I do believe that he is an important part of this community. If for no other reason, he brings attention to the community and brings people to the community that might not otherwise come out to see the shock drop drama. And if they are able to find other voices in the community because of Yankee, love it.
Outsider got a good question there.
Go for it.
He says, how do I start the process of upgrading his Arkansas license?
Yeah. If you have Outsider, do you already have your concealed carry? If so, then you can go to the state police website and do the paperwork for it's called the enhanced CHCL permit, enhanced. And basically what it is you'll just go take another class, The difference is there's a class that's supposed to take 8 hours. You take a class, and then you have a live fire test, and it's a 50-round live fire test that is consisted upon 20 shots under different scenarios from 3 yards, 20 shots that are consist of different scenarios at 10 yards. No, I'm sorry, 7 yards, 3 yards, 7 yards, and 15 yards. The 10 shots of the 15-yard, and of the 50 shots, you have to hit the target 35 out of 50 to pass. So, but it does. But yeah, Outsider, just or you can email me at live@ghosttactical.us. When you get done with the chat here, go ahead and email me, and I can send you the link to get everything started, and you'll be able to look up instructors and classes in your area as well. So give me a shout when you get done with this if you want, and I can definitely point you in the right direction. The cool thing about the enhanced is it only costs $15, and that's good for life. As long as your normal concealed carry is active and not expired or whatever, you never have to retest. You never have to renew anything. The enhanced is good for life. So it's a pretty good $15 is well spent. I think that's pretty much what it costed to do your license, reprinting, and all of that, probably. But it is good for life. So that's the cool thing about it as well. Sorry about that. Anything else out there?
Ben was talking about, I don't know, somebody. I don't know who the heck he's even talking about. Who was it? Brittany Pettibone? Who's Brittany Pettibone? I don't even know who Brittany Pettibone is, but says illegally detained in England. Says freedom of speech has gone outside America in the Western world. I got news for you. Freedom of speech has pretty much never been anywhere else in the world. So America, most all other countries, there's all sorts of wild, crazy caveats to freedom of speech, far more so than here. We think here there's, we have some issues every now and then, but it's way worse everywhere else in the world.
Yeah, to answer Demont's question, he says no score, just hit the target. No, you don't have to get an actual score. It's basically a silhouette target, and you have to keep it inside the 7 ring, which, I mean, it's not, if you shoot on a regular basis at all, and I got 50 out of 50, and it was not even close. I mean, I don't even think I got anything outside of maybe the 3 ring or something, but if you shoot on a regular basis at all, and we're talking 3 yards, 7 yards, and 15 yards, and you're taking 35 out of 50. So technically, if you go 20 for 20 in your 3 yards and 7 yards, which you should be able to get pretty close to that, you could literally have already passed this test before you even go back to the 15-yard distance. So, matter of fact, the guy that was next to me, he's a Marine also. We met that day, and he had gone 20 for 20 in his first 20 shots like I did. In the last 10 shots from 15 yards, he was just going headshots. He was John Wicking it. He didn't care about the last, because the headshots don't count as part of the target scoring area. So he'd already passed. So at that point, he was just going John Wick, trying to get headshots from 15 yards, which I thought was pretty funny. But no, just hit the target inside the 7 ring 35 out of 50 times, and that's basically all it is. It's not a big deal. Right. John Z's out there. He's the producer.
Yeah.
He's even putting the website out there for the enhanced Arkansas license. He misspelled Arkansas, but that's okay.
Well,
it's an S. He's even talking about moving to Arkansas at some point. He needs to learn how to spell the damn state,
Obviously knows the abbreviation. It'd be good.
That's right. Well, here's the thing. A lot of people think it's AK.
Well, at what point, since it's the horrible, scary AR, wonder how long before they have to change that.
Maybe change it to AS or something.
They're gonna have to do something, because we can't have a state that's got assault rifle acronym as their.
Right.
That's just not in America.
Right. I will say this: is I get calls all the time from people that are obviously marketing calls and all of that, trying to sell me something, and they're like, "Oh, so I see that you're man, how's the weather in Arizona? I bet you it's nice this time of year because AR." And I was like, Arizona's AZ, bro. I'm in Arkansas. It's fine. Some of them just hang up. I mean, they know at that point they've already screwed up. We're probably not buying whatever they're selling. Oh, how's the weather in Arizona? I don't know. Why don't you call somebody in Arizona? I have no idea. I'm sure it's nice. You know,
next time, just give them G's number. It's all good.
Exactly. I'll just give him G. Call this guy. He'll buy. He's in Arizona. Let's see here. Smeggy says no set anything, but most use the same drills of 50 rounds on a silhouette at 3.57. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like I said, it's nothing's. I mean, like I said, if you shoot on any kind of regular basis, you should be able to hit the 35 out of 50 on this thing. So, you know, the thing is they're not trying to make it difficult. You've already gotten your CCW, so all this is going to allow you to do this. With, you know, we had this discussion maybe on Tardots, or maybe it was on just me and Clover, or I'm not sure who we had the discussion with a few days ago. But we were talking about, you know, I don't think a lot of these states want to make it overly difficult. I think they want to promote as many people to get their concealed carry permits as possible. So if you make it this hard and, you know, hard tests and all of that, that's just going to discourage people. I think that some of these more pro-gun states that know that they're not able to have constitutional carry for whatever reason, they can't get it passed or whatever, they're going to make the concealed carry as cheap and as affordable and as easy to get as possible because they want to promote more people carrying. So it's not like they're out there trying to say you had to be a competitive shooter to get your enhanced license. It's just saying you got to be proficient. And I saw a lady out there taking a test that I would not want around me with a gun in her hand, but even she got like 35 or 36 out of 50. So all you have to do is be somewhat proficient. Like I said, they're not trying to discourage people. They're actually wanting to encourage people to get their license.
Yeah, I think we were in an after chat or something with that because I think Rick was talking.
I don't know. Yeah, it might have been an after.
I think Rick was talking about whatever that was, that Massachusetts or Rhode Island or where's he from?
Oh, that's right. 75 feet or something.
Talking about it like 75 feet, yeah, or something up there, and I'm like, holy crap!
Especially that's people like 38 or a 380. That
is so not a self-defense distance. You know, what's crazy about that.
Jail is 75 feet.
It's like, why? There's no reason. 25 yards away from the threat. Come on, you know. Yeah, and it's because they want to restrict it, though. Bro, you know,
that's exactly right. Arkansas is very pro-gun, so they're trying to get as many people as they can, and I think what's happened is I think for the longest time, I've only lived in Arkansas for about 15 years, so I don't know what's happened previously, but I remember hearing that forever it was constitutional carry and everything was great, and then about 20 years ago or so, it went to a shall issue state. And every year since then that they've had a legislative session, they've brought up constitutional carry, and for whatever reason, it keeps getting voted down. So last year, I think that they decided to go with this enhanced to kind of give people a little bit more freedom into where to carry and all this stuff. And I think that's one of those things, it's a stepping stone. I think they realized we can't go automatically to constitutional carry again, but if we start taking steps. And I think Texas has done this as well. I think you said they went down to like $40 for their CCW fee. So they're trying to take these steps that say, you know, in 3 or 4 years from now, they sit there and say, well, we lowered our fees and we've got the enhanced now. All this stuff is happening. We might as well just go constitutional carry. People will say, you know, you're probably right. We probably just should. And I think they're smart. They're attacking it piece by piece instead of going for it all in one shot.
Yeah, it'll be the argument eventually. It's like, look, you know, we got all these people already out there that are licensed. We're not making any money doing this. We've lowered our fees so much. It really doesn't require a whole lot for them to get it anyway. You know, why are we even messing with it? You know, and you know, I hope they keep them. I hope they keep them at least. I hope the states that have them and they move the states that have them and move to constitutional carry. Yeah. As long as we still have 4473s anyway, I hope that they don't. That's a whole different. No. But I'm mentioning that to make a point. I hope that the states that have a carry license that allows you to walk in, walk out, bypass all the NIC stuff, because obviously you've already been through all that background check. and just want to say that just in case there's somebody out there that doesn't know.
That's very
But
true.
I hope that they don't do away with it in lieu of constitutional carry, because honestly, I like being able to do that.
Well, sure. No. Yeah.
I would pay for the license simply for that luxury,
Well, and I think there's something to that. If you're a constitutional carry state and you still want to pay, let's say, $10 a year or something like that, okay, to actually have a permit, so that if you go, travel outside the state, you'll have an ID that says that you're a concealed carry. But that card also allows you other benefits like the 4473 and gun shops and all of that stuff. Then who wouldn't do that? I mean. And I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe constitutional carry states offer ID cards of some sort. Anyway,
I don't think so, because the constitutional carry doesn't come with. That's the whole point of constitutional carry. It doesn't come with a background check. So,
right. Well, what I'm saying is can you? No. I understand that. What I'm saying is, can you get an ID card or something through your state if you're going to travel outside the state and carry? I mean, can you, not saying do they, but can you go through a process? I don't know, because I don't live in a constitutional carry state. That'd be an interesting question for anyone out there that is constitutional carry. Are you able to go through a process and get an ID card or something? Pacini says New Hampshire went constitutional carry, but you can still get your carry permit. Okay, so you can. Okay, and Smeggy says the states still have CCW permits, so I guess you can, should you want to go through that process and do all of that, because you, like you said, you do get certain benefits going through that background check. I mean, that does help, And
you get, and at least here in Texas, you get a certain legal, I don't know what the word would be. Ease maybe would be the ease. You get a certain legal ease. If it's a clean, justified defensive shoot, if you are a carry holder, I mean, that holds weight, I guess is what I'm saying with you. Yeah. So, I mean, you've even got, not that it absolutely protects you, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot better than just, because of the background check, mainly that's where the thing comes into play. It's, you've got that background check, and then you have it, whatever, 4 or 5 years or whatever it is. So, if you have that, not only is it benefit as long as we got 4473, but it's benefit if you're ever in a situation, because you show that, and then people know you're not a hoodlum or whatever, pretty much, or, you've been background check. So, then it's just a matter of, was it justified? Did you cause any collateral damage? No. Okay, go home,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Because you're also looking about the permit is, it can help you, like you said, when purchasing a firearm, the whole 4473. There are a lot of, we're going to say this, is there are a lot of gun shops, and I don't know if this is everywhere, but in Arkansas, there are a lot of gun shops. And I believe I've seen some online actually, is if you have a concealed carry license, you get an automatic 10% off of anything in that gun shop, holsters, ammo, even guns. I mean, I see a lot of gun shops that they're promoting the concealed carry. They want more people to carry. So for some people, spending the money for concealed carry, I mean, I'm not saying that's why I did it, but there are a lot of that take the advantage of 10 or 20% off of everything that you buy at gun shops because you have that permit, Yeah,
and I mean, that's a smart move in this day and age with, somebody goes out and they just do something horrible and they bought it legally, whether they've slipped through the cracks of the system, which is things that's happened recently, or it's just somebody that just goes nuts all of a sudden and nobody knew what was going on or whatever,
Right.
There's always backlash where they bought the firearm. They bought it from so-and-so shop or whatever over there. So, that's a benefit to that, that dealer, if they can push people and then they've got that license, and then so they know right then everybody's been background checked. So,
yep. You can get, I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I want to say that there are insurance companies now that for your like home insurance, house insurance, whatever you want to call it, I believe, that offer discounts if there is a concealed carry license owner in the house, because in their eyes, it's less likely for damage or theft at a house because you're probably going to have a gun. I remember seeing, and I say this a lot, but I can't remember which insurance company. And I might have seen an ad on one of the YouTube. There was an insurance company that was promoting, and I don't remember what it was, but there was an insurance company I saw that offers discounts to concealed carry permit holders on their home insurance. That I thought was a pretty cool thing. But I remember who it was. I need to go look that up, because that might be something I actually look at. I do all my stuff through State Farm because I've got a buddy of mine's a State Farm agent. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
That's interesting.
How much of a discount would be, but it's interesting that you know, you have a company out there that would think that way, because if you think about it, it is true.
Yeah.
You know, someone who's a concealed carry permit holder is going to have probably multiple guns and be willing to defend their house, and that might deter a lot of people from breaking that house door down, and insurance has to pay for the new door. So I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Right.
Yeah, I'll be right back. I got a phone call. I got to take this, but I'll be right back. All right.
Okay. Talk out there about how long have we been going for 3 hours? Probably. Yeah, it says 3 hours on the chat thing. We've been going so shortly after 2, I think. So yeah. What is Rick says? Guess Clover's or not paying no promotion. I don't know. I'm not paying any promotion. Tardot says no phones in class. Hilarious. Yeah, I actually called Ghost yesterday. He was in class. I wasn't thinking about it. It was a little bit after lunch. I was actually thinking about it, but I was like, oh, he'd be done. So yeah, that kind of sucked. Hey, Rusk is mentioning the Mr. Knives stickers over on gear websites. So yeah, those are cool. I have not been able to pick mine up yet. I'm glad that they're still for sale. So I don't mind promoting that out and saying, go check those out, because that's a limited run, and all that goes to help out Mr. Knives. And if you hang out over on the Gun Channel side of things, you know who that is. For quite some time now, he's kept lobby chats and things like that going. So Mr. Knives, who loves chocolate, by the way. HBO says Arizona has no difference for resident versus non. So when he moved back to Texas, all he did was send in a change of address. There's some issues that arise from not having a license of the state of which you're a resident. There are a few little issues like that that come up from time to time. It's typically not, especially if you're in a fairly pro gun state, not that much of an issue. But you kind of got to deal with law enforcement occasionally if you haven't run in with them a little more.
What are we talking about? I had to go take a phone call.
I was just kind of reading through the chat. I don't even remember who it was up there. I think it was HBO Matt was talking about he lives in Texas but has an Arizona license, and I said that occasionally you can run into some issues. Typically, as long as you're in a pro gun state that honors that, it's not too bad of a deal, right, unless you run into. But sometimes you run into some law enforcement. You have some encounters with law enforcement or something that may be unpleasant because they don't know the laws and whatnot.
Got a question out there.
Go ahead.
Ben's got a question out there for you. He says, Clover Tack, is it better to be more vocally pro gun in school or just keep my head down?
I told him, keep your head down.
Yeah.
You go to school for a reason. And I don't know. I'll let Ghost can talk about this with his daughter. My youngest one's in college now, but even through high school, I've said this before. We had an economics, and I would help with economics homework. I would help with homework. I mean, parents do that.
Yeah.
But I don't with college, but I did with high school. And even in high school, some of the like economics, I can remember them talking about communism and how, the pros of economics or something and with communism. And I'm like, what the crap is this talking about? And, even back then I told her, I said, just give the answers the book wants you to give, get through it. The truth. I mean, so, it's one of them things, I don't know what your parents do, Ben, or whatever, but, you're a smart kid. I mean, you see the truth for the most part. So, just get through it. And what I told her going to college is the same thing. Don't get in a screaming match, any type of an ideological battle with a left-leaning professor. If you've got one, don't even let on. Don't even do things, if you can, that even give them any idea that you are, far right or further right than them or whatever. Just try to not bring politics and ideology into it. You're there to go to school. You're there to get a degree. You're there to get an education. Go and do that. Opening your mouth, running your head. You're not going to change anybody's mind in a situation like that. You're really not. Odds are a teacher or somebody there in an authoritarian position is going to put you in your place, at least as it would appear from the perspective of others, which would make you look like a fool. And, there's just, you're going to cause more trouble for yourself. So school has a purpose, and it's to get an education. Go get an education.
Get out.
And get out. And then later on, when you have kids and you're going through the process, you'll get what I'm saying a little more than you are than now. But do your own homework, do your own research. I've said it all the time. Question everything, So, but you don't have to be vocal in public and in your face with it. Just so long as you know the truth of the matter, that's fine.
You can do something as simple as your backpack. Most backpacks these days have Velcro on them, like a range bag. You don't have to be vocally pro-gun, but you can put a GunChannels patch. You can put an AR-15 patch on your backpack and not have to say a word to anybody, but people are going to see that patch, and that says enough. There's a difference between making a statement and being vocally out loud pro or against something in high school. You can wear a t-shirt, whatever it is, you can wear a bracelet that's got a 9mm, shell casing through it or something, wear a bracelet that says, I love guns, something subtle that isn't in your face. Look at me, I'm a gun toting, person that ask me and I'll yell at you. No, there's very subtle things. If you want to be pro-gun, then be pro-gun. No one's going to sit here and tell you not to be pro-gun in high school.
Yeah.
What I will tell you is if you're going to be pro-gun in high school, then you have to be able to live up to the repercussions of what you say and do.
Yeah.
So it's up to you. But I would sit there and say with my own daughter, my daughter was an athlete. So she knew that, and she was a very good athlete. She played in college. So she knew that coaches were watching and recruiting her. So she couldn't necessarily do a whole lot of stuff without, causing incidents at school. But even if she wasn't an athlete, she probably would just keep her head down. She's one of those people that is very convicted upon her beliefs, but she also understands that those are her beliefs. And school is not the place for her to do that. And even to this very day, she's very kind of quiet about what she believes. She's very passionate about what she believes in, but she doesn't have to go put in everybody's face what she believes. So get through school, get through college. Now, if a professor or a teacher starts grading you differently and you actually have proof because you disagree with him politically, then that's a whole different issue. But until that happens, just get through it and get out of there. It's nothing. Just get through it.
Yeah, it's not worth it. He says that he's been able to change quite a few kids' minds by doing what he does, ironically.
Yeah,
and if you're able to communicate with students or something, in a more private setting or something, what I'm talking about is, you said being really vocal, and that's like standing up in class or disagreeing with a teacher and trying to prove a teacher wrong, and organizing rallies at school, and just things like that is where I get the come across. That's what I understood by the vocal. I mean, having a private conversation with other students and something. I don't see anything wrong with that. There is some talk out there when you mentioned the the patches and stuff on the backpack. That several of them out there are going, you can't do that in school. You'll get in trouble and this, that, and the other.
And public
my kids wore Smith and Wesson shirts. My kids wore Smith and Wesson shirts, shooting sport shirts, all kinds of guns on them, everything else to school. And my youngest has only been graduated 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago. And I know for a fact kids are wearing them to the school this day. So the schools around here, at least the ones that don't have some kind of a uniform code, if they got a uniform code, that's I get it. That's understandable. They don't have a problem. And there's many schools like that. So when you hear you can't wear this in school, let's be mindful that is not the same. When we were talking about these Florida students earlier, the few that are the rabble rousers are not indicative of across the country, and it's the same way with school districts. So let's not mix the two.
And then there's a whole different rabbit hole that we could go down as far as public schools receiving government funds. And if they're receiving government funds, then why can you not exercise your freedom of expression? But that's a whole different rabbit hole. That's
there's been court rulings and other things on that.
We don't need to go down a whole brand new rabbit hole.
We could get into court or Supreme Court rulings and all kinds of things on that. Ben is thrown out. He says when his teachers put out misinformation, that's when he steps in. That's probably when you shouldn't step in. Unfortunately, that's when you're going to cause yourself more grief than it's worth.
Yeah. Bite your tongue. Go home. Yell at the wall.
Write in a journal.
Write in your journal. Write a blog about it.
There you go. There you go. Make a YouTube video, but
YouTube video,
don't show your face on camera. Pull a G Webs and use an alias,
something else.
Use an alias. Right, exactly. Yeah, have your teacher rant channel or something.
That's right. Just get out of it. And I think we both said this last weekend.
And he says it works somehow. I guess it's just a good communicator. Wait till you get to college. If you're going to college, I'm just telling you, don't. Okay, you may be able to do that with teachers in high school, but when you get to college, they could care less. They got your money regardless.
They got your money.
High school. You have to
your book.
You have to be there. You have to be there in that classroom, be present, blah, blah, blah. You need to make grades and certain things. That's how school districts get their money. You get to college, you pay them up front. And whether or not you pass, they don't care. They could care less. So, don't expect that to hold true if you get to that point. That's all I'm saying.
HBO Matt says he almost wishes he was back at UT Dallas so he could be in Crowder's Change My Mind videos.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Crowder. I think what I would like to do is go there and just play devil's advocate just to see what he would say. And at the very end say, dude, I love guns. I just want to see how you would react to this or something like that. I mean, but I would love to do that because he's so good at that because he stays calm. Now, we don't always see the whole live, uncut, raw footage. But I mean, he does most of it though. He does, he doesn't edit a lot of it. So I love Crowder. I would love to meet him and talk about that stuff. But it's going in as far back as we're talking about keeping your mouth shut and all that. Understand one thing, Ben, is when you get to college, you're going to have a little bit more freedom. As far as speaking your mind and joining clubs and finding people,
like-minded people,
the same things you do. So, but understand that when it comes to professors, you still, it just get done with it. Most professors are so into themselves. Like I said, they're going to make their own books that have failed miserably. They haven't sold any books in the last 15 years, except for every semester they make it required reading. So outside of the students buying books of his, he has never sold a book in his life. unfortunately, you're going to run into professors that are going to make you read their book for required reading, and it's going to make your blood boil a lot. They're going to be very liberal a lot of times and speak against everything that you feel passionate about.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Get done with it. Get your damn diploma. Get out and start your life. College is better than high school, but it's still a 4-year test of can you get through this crap to start the real world. That's really.
Yeah. And Russ out there saying, so you shouldn't call your teacher a lying piece of crap. It's his or her name. Poo-poo head. Calling them out and arguing with them. Do you want to create? Is it worth it? You got to weigh out. It's as simple as that. Is it worth it? Are you already having a hard time? Or trying to get through this? Do you want to potentially risk it getting worse, or are you not graduating or getting your degree or whatever? Is it worth it in the long run to argue with somebody that is solidified as a part of the system?
Right.
And to me, it's not worth it. That's what I've told my kids. It's not worth it. You know the truth. You know what you believe. That's enough for now. Get out into the world, and then you can start reaching people, educating, and changing minds.
Yeah. Vanessa out there, who is an educator herself up in Connecticut, says that if that's the case, you should be at a different school. And for, in theory, that is absolutely, especially in college, obviously, go to a different school, try to find a school that might be, politically
a little more conservative. Yeah.
What you want, that's fine. But for a lot of people, they're talking community colleges, they're talking different things that they might only have an option, both fiscally and geographically. There might be literally one option for them to go to college. Yeah. And I get there's different scenarios for everyone. If you have a choice, go try to find a school that is going to fit your belief system a little bit better.
And most junior colleges are not that bad.
No, they're not. No,
it's when you get up into universities. So and you can do a lot nowadays. Just at the junior level, junior college level, you can do a lot of your education nowadays through that, and then online. You've got online options and stuff too from there. So, don't discount that.
All right. Ben up there says for his capstone project, which is a big senior project on social issues, I'm actually going to doing gun rights as my social issue. So hopefully I can sway more kids' opinions in our favor. I will say this, and don't take this the wrong way, Ben, because I don't know you. I know you through these things, but I don't know you. I don't know your background and all of that stuff. What I would say is be careful. If you want to do the gun rights as your social issue because that's what you feel strongly in, then speak passionately, speak intelligently, and do your thing. If you're doing it to try to change minds, that's the wrong reason. You should never do that, something like that, to change minds. You should do it and speak from the heart. And if you happen to change minds, great. But if you're doing it solely to do that, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. That's my personal opinion.
Well, and you need to be careful too. It's like we talked about before. The facts that we have are good enough. So don't embellish or tweak or twist any of that. When you're going through, if you're using things like that, like saying something again that, most gun owners are members of the NRA. No, they're not. And 5 million members in the NRA is still a big number. If you want to, use that as a quote, 5 million people is a huge group of people. So it still gets the point across, know, so don't use misleading or inaccurate information like that. Be really careful not to do that, because that opens doors for you to be attacked at that point.
Yeah, no doubt. Did you just get a notification that Yankees live in half an hour?
Yeah, he is. It's we've been on like nearly 4 freaking hours, dude.
I had no idea we've been on that.
This is like Alan B. Pro rival chat here, man. It's crazy.
Except it wasn't down like the crazy hole. Maybe
no,
it doesn't seem like it's been down a crazy hole.
I don't think it did. No. No.
And I love the fact we still have 43 people watching, and the conversation in the chat is really good. Vanessa says, come to Western New England University. I think Vanessa might be a professor there, and obviously extremely pro-gun. So, Ben, if you're looking for maybe a little more conservative college, get with Vanessa and go check out Western New England University. That might be I'm serious. That might be an option for you. Let's see here. Hey, what's going on, OBGYN?
OBGYN.
OBNX said that
obstetrician in the house.
Yeah, well, someone was saying he's an OBGYN. He's like, I'm not an OBGYN. It doesn't say OBGYN. It says OBN. So, what's going on?
Obnoxious when what it's supposed to be, I think.
It is. But someone...
He will forever be gyno as far as I can...
Well, yeah. Someone, I can't remember whose chat it was, said he must be the local OBGYN.
Yeah,
I was
right.
Talking about.
I think that was Daily Show one night.
Was it G? Okay.
I don't remember if it was G, but I think that was a Daily Show or something.
You know, it's probably Bog. It was probably tanked.
There's no telling. There's no telling.
Oh, Smeggy says he's been sitting here the whole time waiting for us to end so we can start up the cave.
Whoops. Whoops. Poor Smeggy. Poor Smeggy. He's almost melted.
That's right. OB says it was G that did it. Russ says, I told you it's the 2-bit super show. It is a super show, 3.5 hours. The Gyno one.
You ain't got to worry about getting many replays on this one, though. I can tell you that for sure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't nobody, they're going to see the 4 hours or something and just go right on over it. Nope.
Yeah. Hell, we're still at 40 something. Anyways, Smeggy says no one's going to join because they're all here. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to probably close it out here in a minute because Yankee is going to come on in half an hour. We just kind of got on, and like I said, Clover and I.
There's a lot of shows fixing to start, by the way. I mean, not just
Sunday night, man. Every night's a good night now. It really is.
I will vouch for Smeggy's Cave. I've been on the Smeggy's Cave several times, and I listen to it pretty regularly. I've been in there. I say I guess it's the cave, but yeah. I mean, it's lobby chat feel, but I mean, it's not really down the wormhole like some of them tend to get.
Yeah, it's a gun channels lobby chat, not a
Smeggy does a good cave chat there. I'll give him that. But then we've got Yankee and we've got Gun Gals, and then we've got what's the gentleman show? The Spec Ops.
Spec Ops is Sunday, right? No, is that yesterday?
No, Spec Ops is today. Yeah, Spec Ops, and then
last night was Car Dot and Unloaded. Tonight is Spec Ops, then Gun Gals,
Yankee, Spec Ops, Gun Gals,
and then you got Mohawk Boy, and then RL. Is that correct?
Yeah, RL's Black Cat something now, isn't he? I don't remember. RL has a new name.
Yeah, but he does the go to bed chat on Sunday night at 11:30 Eastern, I believe. Yeah. So go check out Smeggy 42. Obviously, when Gun Channels is back up and running, go to GunChannels.com and check out Smeggy's Cave. Until then, you can go check out his YouTube page, Smeggy 42. They have a great gun chat over there, a Second Amendment chat. GunChannels.com has been going through their upgrade, so I know that it's going to be awesome. Even some of the stuff that we've already seen is awesome, but it's just going to take time for the updates to hit and all that. So some of the pages may be down for a time being, but go check out GunChannels.com.
And Chief says it's working now.
Oh, it is. Well, it wasn't earlier. As I try to put this on
my channel's not unless it's different.
It's not either. A page not found. That's what it says.
Let me go a different route. Maybe something's different.
Channels.com maybe, and then go through that way.
That's one item. See if it's maybe changed or something. So all of this is up. Yeah, I don't see no channels.
I don't see channels anywhere. Show enough. Do not.
Maybe he was talking about the
homepage.
Of course, we knew that because we post our links there. We have been so.
That's right. But Vanessa's He said, "Don't be confused with George's Fat Cat Indoors." Is that? Oh, I'm on RL.
Right.
Vanessa says she can sit in the cave all night long.
She says, "What?"
Instagram out there, so go check him out.
What's going on? She says, "What's
everybody going?"
She says, "Thanks for nothing." I wonder if it's supposed to be working.
I don't know. I mean, we're not giving you crap, G. We're just saying that ours isn't working. But
definitely not. Because I really like the homepage working now. That's
love it. I love it.
That's been screwed up for me. Something with my account apparently, or something since like day one. So that's awesome.
I love the new homepage where it shows you who's online.
Oh, yeah.
You can go to the different lobbies and all that, which I think is going to be awesome. So I'm just letting you know, G, that my channel is not up unless you just block me. That I get it.
Well, there's not even. I don't even see a place on the homepage to go to a channel. So
yeah. Okay, Smeg says you can do everything but channels right now. Okay. So check out channels.com. Like I said, the lobbies you can find there. So yeah, just go check out GunChannels.com, and I'll put the link out in the chat real quick. And most of you, I'm sure, are already over there. But if you're not, then go check them out. And if you're watching this in replay, go check them out as well. GunChannels.com. And basically, what we are is a pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment community, and I've always called it the water cooler of the gun community, where everyone kind of hangs out. You can be around like-minded people. You can find different lobbies and different discussions from different content creators for anywhere from reloading to, old surplus guns to Glocks to whatever you want to talk about. There's always something going around. So go check out Gun Channels, and there's a 24-hour chat talking about something all the time. So it's a great place to hang out. And like I said, be around like-minded people. Let's see here. Oh, she's thinking of an icon to use as her screen name.
Yeah, I can come up with something.
Yeah, I think you should go with like the anonymous mask, or V for Vendetta, but just
make it a kitty.
Make it something. Make it a kitty or something. I don't know. There's got to be something. There's got to be something. Well, Clover, it's been 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Barely 4 hours, I know.
What do you think? You want to kill it? Get ready to go for the night stuff, or you want to keep going? I'm easy, bro.
I don't know. I think we've covered it pretty much all and then some for the most part.
Does anybody else out there have any questions or comments that you wanted to discuss before we get out of here? If not, then if you do, let us know. I mean, like I said, but it's been 3 hours and 40 minutes. And it really, honestly, God, it feels like it's been an hour. It's been awesome. I had no idea we've been going this long. Thanks, Native Gun. He thanks Grace for a great chat.
Yeah,
it has been a great chat. We called a lot of stuff, and the chat itself was awesome. A lot of good stuff out there. So let's see. Tarda says he now has custom lower thirds. Finally, very nice. You did it through Photoshop, I'm assuming. But yeah, Ben says hit me up on Instagram. Will do. Clover, what do you got to close in? You want to go ahead and close it up and say anything?
Yeah, we can. I was letting Vanessa know if she wants me to work on something for her. Just email me live@clovertac.com, and we'll work something out. I've done a few. Ghost has done a few too for people, so we can figure something out. You need help. That's it. I mean, we've already talked about the shows tonight, so that's the only really. I don't know. That's it for me. I mean, this was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and like I said, we kind of started last Sunday. I get a call from Clover, and he's like, "Hey," or was it Saturday night? Or it was something. It was something.
It may have been the Sunday before.
You and I just go on live real quick and speak our minds, and I was like, "I'm always for speaking my mind." And we had a good turnout, and we talked about it last night, today, and all that. So I'm not going to say it's going to be an every weekend thing, but I think that if we're both available,
it was 2 weeks ago. So
it was 2 weeks ago. Okay, so maybe we do it every couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we can't be doing 4 hours every week. Good Lord, 4 hours every week is a little much.
It is, and chances are we'll probably put them back and forth, because last time it was on his channel,
unless we can get you to 1,000. Now, granted, if we get you to 1,000 and people can drop some $20, $30, $50, $100 super chats, well, hey, we make it stay on for 4 hours then. Just saying.
I tell you what I am thinking about doing though is the super chats. I understand they take quite a bit of YouTube will take quite a bit of that. And not saying that everything helps, but I think what I'm going to do is we talk a little bit about PTSD so much, and I think that I'm probably going to do all my super chats when I am able to get super chats is taking my super chat money and finding either a PTSD or a veterans organization to support them and just do the super chat towards something like that. I haven't picked out one, and it might be one of those things that we rotate. We might pick out 4 or 5 of them, and this week it's going to be for this charity, and this one's going to be for this one. But I would like to support some veteran causes, and specifically maybe some PTSD, because you and I feel pretty strongly about that. So,
I know the super chat's easy, and I mean when you're watching things like Yankee, where he's got 1,500 people watching, I mean I get it because of the ease factor and all that, but I mean in all honesty, what I tell people on mine is, I mean, don't get me wrong, the super chat's appreciated. Anything's appreciated. But, there's other ways to support me that does not entail giving away nearly half the money you're trying to give to me.
There's chips, all that stuff.
Exactly right. There's all kinds of better ways, I guess, to do it. I should say.
But
there's probably not an easier way, and that's why so many people do it.
And I'm close. I'm within. Last time I checked, I'm within 70. I'm like 67 away from 1,000, which is amazing. I love it. And when I do get to 1,000 and get the opportunity to have super chats, we'll find a good cause for it. If you do want to give to the charities, then great. Now I'm following that on Yankee. I'm not going to say I can do that. I follow that on Yankee, but I think that's very respectable that he does that for the puppy fund and the cat fund and all that. So, if you want to support the channel, go check out www.ghosttackle.us. You can find my shop there with different with stuff on there with hats, patches, poker chips, shirts, all that stuff. We've got Patreon. Same thing for Clover. He's got all that stuff on his website, clovertack.com. And, Patreon, we're both out there under Clovertack or Ghost Tactical. But if you want to do something, just a donation, PayPal, let us know. We'll give you our PayPal thing. But if you're wanting to donate to that charity and you want to do all that, then that's fine. And, what we'll do with the super chat monies, we'll go find a veterans charity or something like that. So, Black Cat Outdoors, I believe that's what you're talking about with RL. That's Black Cat Outdoors.
That's him.
Is almost 4 hours. Is this the Ghost Tactical Get to 1,000 Sell Promotion Telethon? No, I actually, here's the thing.
Mean for that to happen.
No, I not mean for that to happen. We just kind of came up, but oh God, you said Clovertack does look a little like Jerry Lewis. Wow. I don't know if that's good or bad. Anyways, guys, Smeggy did start the cave up, so the cave is open. Said that he
no
just
cover charge, right? The Smeggy Cave. I don't think there's a cover charge over there.
No cover charge. And it's just like here. It's closing time here at the Ghost Crypt. You don't have to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. But thanks, guys, for joining us. We had a good time. We'll fire up another Ghost and Clover sometime the next week or two. It'll probably be on Clover's channel next time. We're going to go back and forth and all that stuff. But usually we kick it on if we have something to say, if there's something that's bothering us both, or if people might not have anything going on, we'll kick it on. But thanks for joining us as always. We had a really good crowd. Had a lot of people out there that had some great ideas. So thank you as always. Go check out Clovertack's channel. It's Clovertack, and go check out his website, clovertack.com. You can find all of his links over there. Thank you for checking out my channel. Check out my website, ghosttactical.us. You can find all my links over there as well. And obviously go check out GunChannels.com. Thank you, guys. I would say this is going to be over on iTunes and all that, but I don't know if there's an online service that'll do a 4-hour podcast of the audio. Mostly it's 2 hours or if not 90 minutes. So I might have to break this into 2 or 3 segments, but we might put this over there and we might do that. I don't know if we will or not. This one's kind of fun, but thanks guys so much for joining us, and go check out Yankee here in about 15 minutes. And you got, once again, we got Yankee, then you've got Gelsma Outdoors with Spec Ops Sunday, then you've got Gun Gals, then you've got Mohawk Boy, and then RL after that. So we got another great full show lineup tonight. So go check everybody out. Clover, you got anything before we head out?
Mohawk Boy is Midnight Range TM, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I should say that for replay. Yeah, right.
Just in case.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. Not everybody is. Yeah, it's Midnight Range TM. He's a chef, and so his is more of a fusion of food chat and gun chat. It's really awesome. So go check that out. But thanks to everybody. Link to Smeggy's Cave. Hold on, I'll get that for you. Let's see here. Let me go refresh this on the Gun Channel side. Let me go find Smeggy's link. Hold on. Well, I don't know how to get that on the Gun Channel side right now, but I will say that Smeggy 40. Oh, it's not Smeggy 40S. It's Smeg 42 is his name in Gun Channels, and I want to get that link. You got his link to YouTube real quick?
I think that's it.
Okay, so that's his link. That's the cave. You're more than welcome to watch that. If you want to jump in on the cave, just send Smeggy a message in the chat, and if there is room and it's available, he will send you a link to actually join the actual panel. So guys, have a great one. It's invite only. Well, like I said, if you want to join it and there's room and he wants you to join it, then he can, he'll send you a link. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching the show. We've kind of got our minds a little bit more clear, so we got some stuff off our chest, and I hope we answered some questions for you. Until next time, we say thank you so much, and I will always sign off by saying Semper Fi.